Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, how are you today?
Splendid. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Are you splendid because the Islanders went ahead and finally beat a very one of those cellar dwellers that they should have been taking advantage of here over the last 4 games? Is that what you're excited about, Grump?
Well, I'm happy the Islanders won. Nice to win a game for a change, even though we were told by the coach on Thursday it's not really important that we win games at this point in the season. I still consider it something good, but maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
Well, don't you worry. We will touch on that significantly here in the podcast and live stream, Grumpy. I didn't know looks like you've got a shirt on, Grump. What does that shirt say?
It's true. It's a shirt. Hold on. Let's see if you can read it here.
Hey, Josh Bailey, we want to know, will you score a goal? Look at you. Are you breaking out the Josh Bailey merchandise there because Josh Bailey is now tied for 5th all-time in assists in an Islanders jersey? Is that what it is, Grump?
No. I Josh Bailey. Okay. Who cares? He's played what? 15,000 games to the Islanders and he's got 350 assists. I mean, I don't think much of him.
Oh, I didn't know. You're wearing a Josh Bailey jersey, or Josh Bailey shirt. I didn't know you were paying him homage because now he's 5th all time, tied with the great John Tavares. An assist there in an Islander sweater. I just didn't know if you were trying to give him some respect or pay homage to him.
No, it was a free shirt that I got from Net Threads with a Z. They sent me a shirt in the mail, and I'm willing to wear it. And I will say that the quality of the shirt is very, very nice. It's not like the cheapy stuff that you usually see from certain people. This is a nice Fruit of the Loom shirt and a very nice job by the people at Net Threads.
Oh, Grumpy. And again, not an advertisement or anything like that.
No, I'm not advertising, but they should send me more free stuff so I could talk about them when we do our podcast.
Well, hell, Grump, the majority of your apparel and clothing are, from 10, 20 plus years ago. So,
yeah, I would love to see this shirt last for 30 years.
Oh, goodness, Grumpy old man. Before we dive too much here into the podcast, though, we do have a brief word here from our sponsor, DraftKings. This weekend, UFC's 262 is sure to be a can't-miss event. Every punch, kick, and knockout means so much more with DraftKings lineup on the line. DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of UFC, is giving you a shot at huge cash prizes. For this weekend's fight, DraftKings is offering all customers a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. If you haven't tried it yet, Fantasy MMA is easy to play. Just pick 6 fighters, stay under the salary cap, and pile up the points for advanced takedowns and more. There's no better way to put your MMA knowledge to the test than to compete for at a shot of millions of dollars in total prizes. Plus, don't forget, basketball and hockey is where DraftKings has even more money ups for grabs this week. DraftKings is safe and secure and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Make sure you download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code THPN for a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes throughout the week. Again, that's promo code THPN to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details, grumpy old man.
Well, you almost pulled it off, but you didn't. As usual.
I tried hard.
You Josh Bailey'd it.
I did, huh? Oh,
that's
goodness
all I have to say. You messed it up. Screwed up.
Well, Grumpy, I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
And so the number on the back is number 12. So I was thinking about putting the name Sutter on the back.
Oh, really?
Sutter. Yeah.
B. Sutter. Daryl Sutter. My goodness gracious.
Dwayne.
I'm sorry, Grump. It's we're late at night. Do apologize, Grumpy. Anyway,
Daryl is one of the Sutter brothers.
He's one of the Sutter brothers. He's obviously most notably known there for an even better coach than a player there for the Kings back in that time period.
Dwayne Sutter was an Islander, very, very good player.
Yes, grumpy old man. That being said, tonight the Islanders did beat the Devils in a convincing fashion. It's worth noting, right? Islanders win 5-1 over the Devils.
Yeah, I like to call this week Mixed Message Week from Barry and the boys.
Dun-dun-dun-dun, Barry and the boys, mixed message week. Tell me a little more about what you mean, Grumpy.
We had the reason why we were benching players wasn't to send a message, Matt Barzal. It's to get them rest. Anthony Beauvillier pretty much acknowledges that's not what happened. Barry comes out and tries to soft sell it after another loss to a lowly franchise. Then we go and we play our pals, the Devils, and who gets benched? Who gets rested? Because Barry said how important it is. Winning is not really important now. Making sure everyone gets rested is most important. The most paramount thing that we need to do right now is rest our players for the playoff chase. Number one, he went on and on about it. That was after what Beauvillier said. No. We're resting everybody up because playoff time is here. So the next game, who are we going to rest? Because you got 4 more games. You could rest the whole team for a game in 4 games. So the second game, he rests Komarov again. Who cares? And he rests Eberle. And Andy Green.
Andy Green, Matt Martin.
Okay. So, then today, who do we rest today? What
do you stammer on about, grumpy old man? We go ahead and rest them, and then
I'm saying it's bullshit. It's bullshit saying that he's resting players because today he only rested one guy, which is Cal Clutterbuck, and he put in the equally ineffective Travis Zajac. That was the only change in the lineup today. So we're either resting players or we're not. To me, he's full of crap. Okay, he benched Barzal to send a message. Then he tried to backpedal, backstroke on it. And then right now, he figures all the Islander fans had forgotten what he said earlier in the week. Well, the grumpy old man hasn't forgotten, and I'm calling him out on it.
Oh, okay. Well, terrific. Thanks so much, grumpy old man. I will tell you this. I'm happy he didn't bench anybody on the second line. I think that this is a time period when players do need to get rest. We can argue the semantics of it. I will tell you, I do have a problem, though. You talk about mixed messaging. I don't think that's so much mixed messaging. I know there's some fans who still are going to say, hey, he got benched there for a reason. And then they react to it. It's a moot point at this juncture. It really is. He's rested other players there in the lineup, pick and choose whoever wants to rest, whatever. Not that important. I will tell you something. It is some mixed messagings there from broadcast crew, from Barry Trotz, and from the fan base. Remember, we have heard from quite some time now that these games didn't really matter. They don't matter, guys, because guess what? It's all about the playoffs. It's all about pushing for the playoffs. That is the most important thing right now. We want to make sure everybody's healthy and rested. Doesn't matter if we win or lose. It didn't matter that we dropped 2 games to the lowly Buffalo Sabres. It didn't matter that we lost in overtime there to the Devils. But it was so funny and ironic tonight when the Islanders absolutely put on a show against the Devils, as they should on a night-in, night-out basis. We hear there from the broadcast crew, well, hold on a second. This is huge. This win is so important, guys. Fan base, this win is important because now we're going to be having a chance going into the last game of the season to get the number 3 seed. The playoffs are an odd and funny creature. So who's to say that the 4th seed, the Boston Bruins, if we win tomorrow or on Monday, that they might go ahead and win their first round and then we have home ice again. I just find it ironic that now we're talking about how it's important to win games and to get a 3 seed when I've been saying that the entire time. But, we were using the safety net of, the games didn't matter and we were getting dogged by the bottom tier teams in the division.
Well, that's part of the mixed message week, right? First, it's the ridiculous lie about why we're resting players when we weren't. We were just benching them. That's all they were doing. And when they're losing, players get benched, okay? But it's who he picks as usual. And then saying that wins don't matter. Well, there's another mixed message, and you're 100% right. What they're hoping is the fan base are just a bunch of lemmings, and no matter what that they say, we're just going to toe that company line. Whatever they say is right. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to call you out whenever you say something or your actions belie what you say. Okay? I'm not like one of the here's the thing. I love the Islanders, but here's the thing. You know what I hate is bullshit, which is what Barry Trotz has been feeding you for the last couple of weeks. The team isn't performing. If he was just honest and said, you know what, Matt Barzal got benched because he had a terrible game, or this guy got benched, which is what Anthony Beauvillier practically came out and said in his press conference, then Barry backstrokes, Okay. And then so I'm figuring, okay, I'm willing to give Barry the credit, the credit or benefit of the doubt, right? By saying, okay, if you're going to rest 3 or 4 guys every game for the rest of the season because winning doesn't matter, that's fine. But he didn't do it tonight, and that's the problem I have, and that's why I'm calling him out.
I have no problem with you calling him out, Grump. You're jumping all over the place on your points, my guy. And I just want to, hey, don't feel like you got to keep going. I could speak too here, Grumpy. I don't want to interrupt you, especially if you're about to get on a roll, because I know people like the grumpy old man when he gets on a roll. So no issues with that, Grump. I will tell you this, though. There are certain members of the fan base who, before this win tonight, were under the preconceived notion of the time period, it doesn't matter. And the Islanders, when they make the playoffs, are going to flip the switch and everything is going to be great. We'll wait to see how everything is. Game 1 there of the playoffs. Here is my point. Even when you're benching players there for rest purposes, even if that's what it is, disciplinary rest doesn't matter. When you're giving players rest in some capacity, the players who are out there on the ice are not taking an approach of, hey, we're going to ease our foot off the gas. Do you think Barry Trotz, when he addresses the team, goes into the locker room and says, hey, Beauvillier, hey there, Barzy, hey, Brock Nelson, you guys have done a great job this season. We've done an awesome job. We've made the playoffs 3rd year in a row. I'm so proud of you. I want to make sure you guys are well rested and ready there for the playoffs. So I'm giving you the A-OK, the go ahead there to ease your foot off the gas a little bit. Don't press too hard. Don't go hard there and win those loose battles. Don't go ahead and fight for those loose pucks. Don't go ahead and throw the body as much. Don't press too much on the forecheck. Don't worry about being structured on defense. You know what? Take a little bit off. We get the playoffs coming up. Ease off the break. Do you realistically think that a coach and a team has a mindset like that? If they do, they're not professionals. And I can tell you one thing. There's no way in hell Barry has that mindset, and there's no way in hell anybody in that locker room has that mindset either. So the fact that people are trying to perpetuate this myth that, oh, they're just taking a foot off the gas, I don't buy it.
Okay. Yes. So thank you for monologuing. I did have a point, but I won't let you ramble. I let you ramble, which is fine. No one cares when you ramble. They only care when I ramble. So, I mean, I'm 100% agreement, right? And that's why I call him out, because he's never telling the players that. He's absolutely never going to tell the players the season's great. It's just not going to happen. And the players don't think like that. I mean, I just wish, and I don't blame the fans. I absolutely don't blame the fans for thinking like that, because they're just going by what Barry tells them. What I would say is just remember what Barry said 3 days ago as opposed to today, because they're totally divergent opinions. That's all.
I'm not even too worried about that. The biggest point I'm pointing out,
Islanders
will not be able to flip the switch. That has been the narrative by the fan base, by people. That has been the myth that's been perpetuated, Grump, and you haven't really addressed it, which is fine. My issue is people are going in with the thought process that walking into the playoffs, we are going to be able to flip the switch. We're all of a sudden going to be able to solve the issues there in the power play. We're all of a sudden going to be able to go ahead and put up points and goals in droves against top-tier teams. This is the myth that's being perpetuated. Hey, we're just going to flip the light switch on. We don't have to worry about anything else. When it's playoff hockey, it's completely going to change. I don't believe that. That is where the issue comes. I know the playoffs are a different animal. You want to carry momentum into the playoffs. We beat a team, and I'll acknowledge it is a good win tonight against the Devils. They're the freaking New Jersey Devils, ladies and gentlemen. We split with the New Jersey Devils, and we just lost 2 straight there against the Sabres. Who the heck knows what's going to happen on Monday against the Boston Bruins? Remember, it's in Boston. So
okay, what's your actual question? Because you go on so long, I forget your question.
My question, and what I want you to comment on, is the myth being perpetuated that they could flip the light switch on and off. If you didn't get that, Grump, I thought it was
I did, because you talk endlessly, and I forget what you say at the beginning. Right. That's correct. This is not a light switch flipping team. It just isn't. Without a doubt, it's not. And everything is tied in together. And you should worry about what Barry says. It shouldn't say, well, it's water on the bridge. No, because you want to know that your coach is telling you the truth when he's talking, or at least pretending to stay on task. Even if that's, if his message is one thing, you can't change the message from one gate to the next, because then people stop not believing in you. Or at least I do. It means I can't trust anything you say. One day you say this, and the next day you say something that's totally opposite. It's like, where the hell are you coming from? At least be consistent. There's no shame in Barry's game because he should always be the same.
You said that then you have people not believing. You're using double negatives. Anyway, Grumpy Old Man, I get the point you're trying to make, and I do. I just don't think it's as big as an issue as you do. I really don't care what happened with it. I still think, maybe Barzy was benched at some capacity, as well as the play wasn't there. And the first line in general has not been producing very well. That's what I'm talking about. Do you realistically think in the playoffs, we're just going to be able to flip the switch and say, hey, 5-on-5 play, our first line now is going to start producing more goals in droves. Our first line's now going to start producing offensively. Fans, do you realistically think that?
The only player who can flip a switch and turn this team around is Matt Barzal. No one else has enough talent to do that. No one on this team has enough talent where they can flip a switch and change the fortunes of a team except for him. That's about as emphatic as I can make that. He's the only guy with enough skill to make a difference for this team. Everything else is system play. And he did it tonight. Tonight, I thought he was really good tonight, and he set up 2 goals. He had a fantastic back check to set up his goal, and just a beautiful pass to Eberle for the first goal. I mean, that's Matt Barzal at his best.
Question for you, Rump. You're going in to Monday's game against the Boston Bruins. Number 1 and number 2 are locked in at this point. Who would you realistically want to play?
Both teams beat us 6 out of 8. So, I mean, to me, Pittsburgh's really hot right now. They're really hot. Jeff Carter's made a big difference for them. 9 goals since he's been acquired from Los Angeles. That makes them real dangerous. Washington bullies us. I mean, I guess I'd rather play Pittsburgh because they're not as physical and they can give up some goals. So I guess I'd rather play Pittsburgh in the first round.
So you're going in the mindset, it's better to lose on Monday to get the matchup against Pittsburgh. Is that correct?
Oh, I just think we're going to get beat by Boston. I don't think, it's about us. It's not like that's in our control. I mean, it's not. If Boston wins their last 2 games of the season, they beat us out anyway. So it doesn't matter.
And again, 1 seed secured there by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Number 2 seed has been secured by the Washington Capitals.
Well, we don't know that.
No,
Washington.
No. I'll go ahead and give it to you again tonight. The Washington Capitals won in overtime. So number 1 and 2 are locked in on the East, right? The Penguins are locked in at number 1. The Capitals, yes.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
Pittsburgh has 2 more points than Washington. Washington has 1 more game against Boston.
Okay. If Washington beats Boston, then it goes to regulation time wins as a split. And Pittsburgh already has more regulation time wins than Washington. So no matter what, Pittsburgh has the 1 seed, Washington has the 2 seed.
Okay, they said that was not sewed up. I'm just saying what they said on the broadcast. That's all.
Okay. Well, maybe at the broadcast at the time period it was done, that was the case. But again, I do just want to pull that for you, Grumpy Old Man. Again, Arthur Staple. Washington wins there in overtime. The first 2 slots in the East are locked in. Penguins are first. Washington Capitals are second. So again, and going into this last game here, you think it would be more beneficial whether the Islanders try to tank it or not, whatever. You think it's better us match up against the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Again, I don't understand the tanking. Why are we even talking about tanking? You don't want to go in playing poorly into the playoffs. I don't care what Barry Trotz said. I mean, you want to win those games. If you can win it, you want to win it. I mean, I don't think it matters one way or the other. All the teams are fairly evenly matched. Let's be honest. I don't really think it matters who we play at this point. This division is like this razor thin between team 1 and team 4. It's all how you're playing. Right now, out of the 4 teams that make the playoffs, we're playing the worst. That much I can tell you. And Pittsburgh's playing the best.
Again, I just want to make sure. So you would rather face off against Pittsburgh than Washington. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I think that Pittsburgh can give up goals. I don't think they're as defensively sound as Washington is overall as a team. That's why I would rather play Pittsburgh.
I take a little different viewpoint than you. I'd rather play Washington only for a few reasons. You're right, Pittsburgh, just like you said, Carter's come in there. He's been hot. I do not want to play Sidney Crosby. There's never been a guy that absolutely owns the New York Islanders like Sidney Crosby. And I know, right, this might even be a moot point that we're talking about this, right? Because both of those teams there, the Capitals and the Penguins, both come away with 6 wins over an 8-game time period, or the 8 games that we played in this season.
Yeah, we played Pittsburgh earlier before the trade deadline. But gosh, I remember those Washington games when we just really weren't in them. I don't know. I just think Washington's too physical for us. I think that gives us a problem. It's either way, it's going to be a tough matchup. Either way. I mean, I think both of those teams are better than we are right now. I hate to say it.
Well, talking about the Washington Capitals, you saw Garrett Pallon got his first NHL career start tonight.
Good for him.
Yeah, Rich Pallon there, friend of the show. I know he's got to be proud there. I can't wait to probably get him on here, hopefully in the near future, talk to him about that too. But Garrett Pallon got his first start. Crazy thing about it, right? Rich Pallon used to be same team there with and partners there was Zdeno Chara's first 3 years in the league.
Yeah. And think about that, right? And now he's playing with his son.
Yeah. Yeah, Grumpy definitely is an odd thought to entertain, but that's how it is. I mean, Zdeno Chara's career has been long. That is for certain, Grumpy old man.
Yeah, whatever, 20, whatever. He's 43 years old. He's been playing forever. And he's a Hall of Famer. So, I mean, he's slow though. I will tell you that he's slow. He's slow. I saw a game earlier this week, and I was like, "Ooh, man, he's slow," but he's still got the smarts. And you know what? Come playoff hockey, when they let some things go that they don't during the regular season, that's beneficial. It really is.
Yeah, and again, I get it too when you talk about, hey, the Penguins. We looked like we were closer in certain obstacles and games there against them. I just really think that the Washington Capitals are their team for us to match up against.
That's fine. I mean, that's fine, honestly. Let's say we beat Pittsburgh. I think that if it's Washington, Boston, that series is going to be a bloodbath. There's real hatred between those two teams. And if we have a chance of advancing, if somehow we beat Pittsburgh, I'd much rather play the winner of Washington and Boston.
Fair enough, Grumpy old man, especially after a long and arduous series that it might be. Well, Grump, I mean, like today, I don't know, Grump. I mean, I don't know what else you want to cover here before we kind of start opening up the phone lines and everything like that.
Just one of the questions.
Start going crazy there, Grumpy. Immediately, you start jumping all over the place. And I'm trying to get you where we're getting, salient in like certain sequence points, Grump. And
you talk too long. You talk a whole lot and don't say anything. Okay, that's an issue. That's an issue. That's an issue. Stop. All right, stop. I'm going to do like you do now. Stop. Okay. Here's the thing. It's just something else. And it's back to the Barry thing. Resting players. Okay.
Back to the Barry thing.
Great. It's a Barry thing, right? You realize after Monday's game, we're not going to have another game until Saturday or Sunday is when the playoffs are going to start. So why was it so imperative that he starts resting players a week before the end of the season when you could have got a higher seed? He was lying. The reason is he was lying when he said that. He knew what the schedule looked like. You're going to have 4 or 5 days off between games, and you're concerned about resting guys? Okay. I'm just telling you that he lied when he said that. That's all. And it bothers me. He should at least be honest and say why he did it. Because he certainly told the players a different story by listening to Anthony Beauvillier.
Is that all you wanted to come on here to talk about today? I know we talked about it ad nauseum last podcast. You're talking about it again ad nauseum in this podcast.
No. I wanted to bring up some positives from tonight.
Well, thanks. Good.
And we can bring up the negatives on your hosting of the show later, but we're going to bring up the positives now. I liked how Butch's bow tie. I thought it was really nice. I mean, it was a nice looking bow tie that he wore today. And it's better than his usual ties. So good for you, Butch. I love the fact they had Chico Resch on today. Chico was my favorite Islander goalie when I was a young person growing up. I loved it. I liked him better than Billy Smith. Maybe it was the helmet with Long Island on there, the Islanders Long Island logo, whatever it was. I love Chico, and it was nice to see him, even though his toupee is absolutely hideous and has been for many a year. I still love Chico Rush. I would be remiss if I didn't mention I thought this was Kyle Palmieri's best game as an Islander today. I don't think it's even close for second. And the goal, it was a nice move, and I think he was able to score that goal because he knew Blackwood in goal by playing with him for these last number of years. But it was a nice goal nonetheless, and he had more jump in his game. Good for him. And the number one thing that I liked about today's game, if you look at the goals that were created today, they were all created by the younger players. Matt Barzal created 2, okay, his own, and then the one to Eberle. Brock Nelson's first goal was created by Oliver Wahlstrom, and that shot on the power play. It generates chances. He puts it on net. It's tough for goalies to corral. Kicks it right out in front of the goal. Nelson pops it in, much needed goal. The second Nelson goal was created by Anthony Beauvillier, and him making a great play in center ice, driving it in, taking that shot, bouncing it off. Bailey makes a nice assist to Nelson, once again standing right in front of the net. I think those were real positives. I like to see when the young guys are driving the plays. That's what I like to see. That makes me feel good.
Okay, I want to backtrack a little bit. You talk about the Palmieri goal. Holy crap, was he close to borderline slashing the stick out of the defender's hand? I was just happy he wasn't called. Honestly, if he was called for it, hell, the way he came down with the force on that stick, it would not have shocked me at all if he broke one of those composite sticks. I mean, they're made they're easy to snap in half in today's game. It would not have shocked me at all if he would have been called there for a slash. I was like, he did a good job of bodying the defender there off the puck, winning that loose puck, and he did do a good job there deking out Blackwood and scoring it. Obviously, you hope that carries some momentum. It's kind of easing some of the monkey off of his back. But again, that's not a guy I'm expecting the light switch to flip on and off between regular season woes and the postseason.
No, like I said, but it was his best game today. And you listen to Butch say, oh, well, he's got chemistry with these line mates. And it just makes me think, okay, we traded a first and a fourth round pick for a third line rental winger. That just doesn't sit well with me. And it didn't when we made the trade. So it's not like I'm saying, yes, I believe something before and something now. It bothered me then. It bothers me even more now. I'm grumpy about it. What can I tell you?
Well, I'll tell you. I'm not expecting him to have unbelievable playoff performance, and I hope I'm eating my words. It looks like that was a loss of a trade. I thought, hey, that's a B+ trade. I really thought Palmieri was going to be able to go ahead and have open slots there. He'd play on the first line, which he doesn't. I really thought he was going to be able to pick corners there and really let that deadly wrist shot go. Doesn't look like that's the case, and I don't. Again, it looks like that is going to be a failure of a trade. People are saying, hey, wait for the playoffs. Things can change. Wait for the playoffs. I don't know. What has the first 15, 16 some odd games really showed and indicated to you Islander fans that he's going to perform like in the postseason?
Well, it shows me nothing. I don't expect anything from him in the postseason. And I found something else interesting, right? You remember where we talked last podcast about Oliver Wahlstrom being up on the first line with Barzal. And it's like, well, gosh, he's a right wing. Eberle's a right wing. Well, here's the thing. He plays left wing now with Pajot because Palmieri's not capable of playing on the left side. And once again, we are changing a young player. Instead of putting him where he's more comfortable, let's put him where he's more uncomfortable and let the vet who's been in the league forever, they don't have to make any changes. And I'm like, what? As a coach, you should be trying to maximize all the players' talents, okay? Why can't Kyle Palmieri play on the left side? He should know how to do it. Why doesn't he? But
I think he's not capable. I just think he's not capable. You ask, why does Barry Trotz take the approach of, hey, because he did. He tried Palmieri out in the left wing. Didn't work. It just tells you how inflexible he is, and he's just not very malleable there. Just tells you, again, I think it speaks volumes to maybe that trade was not as good as originally I had thought and most Islander fans had thought.
Right. That F minus that I put on it, it seems apropos now. But for a positive, because I always like to spin the positive, because I missed the positivity here, it shows me that Oliver Wahlstrom can play the left side and be productive on that left side. So in the future, I would love to see Oliver Wahlstrom playing on the left side with an Eberle on the right side. I don't think there's any reason to move him off of that line. So he can play in that first line with Matt Barzal and Jordan Eberle.
Will he ever get the shot? Who knows?
That's a whole nother that's a whole nother ball of wax.
A whole nother can of worms for certain. Connor McDavid, 97 points so far this season. 97 points, ladies and gentlemen.
I have a question for you. How many points would he have placed for the Islanders, you think? 50? 45? 50? I'm going to guarantee you Barry would not like the way he plays.
Absolute maximum, 65 or 70. I'm talking about a maximum with this season. With this shortened season, 65 or 70 points, an absolute maximum for Connor McDavid. There's no way in hell he'd break 90. I mean, he's on a chase right now for 100 points here in this shortened season. And again, you look at the numbers back in the time period during Gretzky and Lemieux, the numbers in the Gaudy video game numbers they were able to put up. Those days are behind us. But 100 points in this shortened season would be unbelievably impressive.
He's a supremely talented kid. But I'm going to ask you again. I just find it funny. Like people say, we don't have a superstar. If Matt Barzal played for Edmonton, and I'm not saying he would have 96 points, but I'm going to guarantee you have 80 or 85 because he's just that talented. And if McDavid was here, he'd probably be benched. He probably would have got benched a couple of days ago.
This year, you said that Matt Barzal would have 80, 85, or you're talking about there during a normal, regular length?
If he played on a team, a run and gun team like Edmonton, he'd probably have 80, 85 points this year because he's that good. Remember, Draisaitl has a boatload of points too.
He's only got 77. Draisaitl's number 2 in the NHL in points. He's only got 77. I'm not sure 80. I don't think it would be unbelievable to think that he'd have 70 plus. Again, anytime you're playing alongside a guy like Connor McDavid, who's putting up close, he might even put up 100 points this season. Not hard to stretch the imagination to thinking maybe that he would have at least 70.
It's the style that they play, though. It's certainly conducive to the way Matt Barzal plays. The styles make the player, and he fits that style perfectly. Perfectly. He'd be a stud in Edmonton. He really would be. Not Connor McDavid, but a stud nonetheless.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. Who knows, really? I mean, Leon Draisaitl, unbelievably talented. If he sticks enough years there with Connor McDavid, he's almost guaranteed a Hall of Fame position, whether they win any Stanley Cups or not, just because of all the points he's going to amass there in Edmonton.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, he's good, but they've been trying to get him off of McDavid's line for years so that they have two really strong lines, and they've just been unable to do it. They play so well together. I mean, that's chemistry, right? But yep. I mean, Connor McDavid, Hall of Fame talks really, really early. I mean, what are these guys, 23, 24 years old? It's really early. But, I guess if you look at the current trajectory and, for another 10 years, okay, you could say that, but that's still a long way off. Yeah, you're just typical millennial. You talk about put people in the Hall of Fame after like 3 or 4 years. You do it all the time. McDavid's
24 years old and has over 506. He's got 566 career points. I don't think it's a stretch to say that guy is penciled in to be a first ballot Hall of Fame caliber player.
Okay, if he has a career-ending injury tomorrow, is he going to be a Hall of Famer? The answer is no. That's what I'm saying. All you millennials are all the freaking same. You're all the same. It's like, okay, he had a great year this year. He's for the Hall of Fame. No, it's term. You have to go years and years of being really good to be a Hall of Famer. It's not the Hall of this year. It's the Hall of Fame forever.
Okay. How many players do we see in today's NHL and today's sports at the age of 24 years old get injured and never play another game in their life? How many are we talking about? You can hold them all in one hand. How many NHL players last season on a year-on-year basis sustain a career-ending injury at the age of 24 where they're never able to play hockey again?
Anything can happen, though. Anything can happen. He could quit tomorrow. I don't want to play hockey anymore. I want to be a rock and roll singer. You never know.
Matt Martin could lead the New York Islanders there to a Stanley Cup victory and score 17 goals. You're right. Anything can happen. I'm not putting my money on it. Not going to Vegas and putting money on that, though.
Okay, here's the thing. But you do that. You tend to say guys are Hall of Famers like by their second or third year in the league. Patrick Mahomes, he's a Hall of Famer, right? Isn't he a Hall of Famer?
Going to be a Hall of Fame caliber player for
He's
certain.
played 3 freaking years in the league. 3 years in the league. He could have a career-ending injury next year, and you put him in the Hall of Fame.
Again, I'll hit you on this one more time before we move on to the next subject. How many players every single year have career-ending injuries in their 20s and never play the sport ever again? How many?
In football, lots. Lots of guys. Lots of guys are never the same after a serious injury. Lots. Boatloads.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The point is, you're willing to put a guy in the Hall of Fame after 3 years or 4 years.
I don't know.
I'm not.
People, maybe comment below whether you think Connor McDavid's going to be a surefire Hall of Famer or not. I try not to look at it thinking a guy's going to walk out the street and get hit by a bus and die tomorrow. So maybe I take a different stance of that grumpy old man. I just wanted to bring up that he's got his 97th point this season, which I think is very impressive. He still might have 100 points before the end of the season's up.
He's damn good. He's real good.
Yeah,
without a doubt. No, I mean I'm not doubting that.
No, I'd like to have
best player in the league. Best player in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody would deny him on our team. That is for certain. That being said, grumpy old man, I guess we're ready to kind of open up the phone lines. I mean, if you have nothing else here to say to kind of touch on today, obviously, I mean, you're wearing a Josh Bailey shirt. I was shocked by that. But yeah.
I guess the last thing I would say is, okay, the Islanders won today, but do you feel confident with how they're playing overall within the last week and a half after the Ranger game? Do you feel confident that they are going to be really competitive in the playoffs? I mean, and that's a question you have to ask as a fan. How do you feel about that? Because I don't think, even though we won 5-1, I didn't think we were great today. Maybe towards the end, New Jersey just kind of gave up a little bit. But early in that game, I'm like, man, we're not doing anything that really stands out. So it was just, I'm just wondering what people think. That's all.
Yeah, we get a comment there from D-Cut saying there, love the shirt, Grump.
Yep. Hey, gotta love it.
Mm-hmm. Frank K also says a great way to win the last ever regular season game at the Coliseum. Even Palmieri before the Storm scored.
Even Palm before the Storm called.
What?
It's a playoff calm. The calm before the storm. Even Palm before the Storm scored. You understand? Yep. It's like a playoff calm before the storm and Palmieri, Palm before the Storm. I realize that you being a millennial probably never even heard of this.
I've heard. Trust me, I heard of it, Grumpy old man.
Okay.
And remember, again, I'm doing things over here, Grumpy.
It was a nice play on words by Frank there.
And you just want to give him credit. Well, thank you, Grump. Hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy old man. Who do we have calling in?
D-Cut. What's up, boys?
What's up?
Couple of things. Shout out to Isles Misery, a group where all opinions are welcomed. Little Birdie told me one of these Facebook groups after those Buffalo games were telling members, if you post anything negative, you're getting tossed out. So anyone who wants to come into a group where all opinions are welcome, Isles Misery. Second thing, want to give some respect to Volley. Great regular season. Same thing with Adam Pelech. I think if you look at the team as a whole, the most consistent Islanders, probably those two, along with Eberle. I think Eberle's had a very consistent season. And third thing, before I let you guys go, and thanks for a great show again, as always, I think I'd rather play the Caps. I think looking back, even 2015, when the Caps were a much better team than us, we took them to 7 games. Obviously, last year, they had a shitty head coach. We know that. We beat them in 5. We embarrassed them in Game 5. They barely showed up. We gave them the gentleman's sweep. We gave them Game 4. But I think you're right, Grump. They are a much more physical team than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just has the look to me of a Stanley Cup team, a team that could go to the Stanley Cup and possibly win it. They just look, everything's calm, everything's, relaxed. Carter came in, fit right in perfect. They scare me a little more than Washington. Thanks, boys. Speak to you next week.
Thanks there. I do appreciate the call in here. Brian P., grumpy old man. I think
no, that was D-Cut.
I'm sorry, grumpy old man. It's sorry, D-Cut there.
Yeah, I just want to comment on what he said. I thought that Jeff Carter fit in the way a deadline dealing player is supposed to look, and he certainly has. He's been great for them. Really lengthened once again. Spreading out that scoring makes them, and they do look good. They're really, really hot. The only reason that I would want to play Pittsburgh, and like I said, it's like one of this, one of that. I don't think it really matters. I think both teams are better than us, but I just think that they can give up goals where Washington's a little bit more stout defensively overall. That's the only reason I say it.
Think about this too. The window for the Pittsburgh Penguins is relatively finite. And you look at these teams here in this division, talk about the playoff experience the Boston Bruins, the Capitals, and the Penguins have. I mean, the Islanders, as of recent, definitely have some playoff experience. But think about those teams. You've got handfuls of first ballot Hall of Famers, most of them towards the end of their career, sprinkled throughout these teams. And a lot of playoff experience between all three or all four of them now.
Without a doubt. I mean, the difference between Washington last year and this year, they have a coach this year. Yeah. Last year, they didn't. And I think that's a big, big difference. And Laviolette is not afraid to dirty the game up a little bit, if you know what I mean. He's not afraid to do that. I didn't think Reardon was ever going to do that against Trotz. But I do think that Laviolette's not afraid. Sullivan's a good coach, too. I mean, this is 4 really good teams in a tough conference with 4 really good coaches. And I think talent is going to win out. So, maybe that is Pittsburgh. They're hot right now. It depends on how Jarry plays, really, is how far they go.
Yari. Yeah, here's another question, too, Grumpy. I mean, based off of who makes it out of this division, do you think they're going to have enough left in the tank there to continue on and make a real stab there at Stanley Cup? Because think about it, right? I don't envision these series being short. I don't envision it being, hey, this is a sweep, a 4-game sweep or anything like that. I think these teams all play a tough, hardened style of hockey. They all know how to play playoff. They all know how to play playoff hockey too.
I think Pittsburgh is the only team, particularly if they clinch first place. Pittsburgh is the only team that could benefit and do well in going into the semifinals. I think Washington, like I said earlier, Washington-Boston is going to be a bloodbath battle, without a doubt. I don't think that we're good enough to give Pittsburgh a real run for the money. But I think if we're going to have a chance to beat anybody, it's probably them. But I just think Pittsburgh, with how well they're playing and the fact that Boston and Washington are going to beat the hell out of one another, is going to benefit them. That's the one team. Or us. If we somehow manage to beat Pittsburgh, we're going to benefit from Washington and Boston killing one another.
Goodness.
Then I'd have to shut my mouth. Then I would have to shut my mouth because we made it back to the semifinals for the Stanley Cup. I'd have to shut my mouth, right? Because that's what I said. To me, we have to get there to at least the semis
in order for it to be a successful season.
And I want the Islanders to shut my mouth. I do.
Yeah. I just based off the way they're playing at the moment, I just don't foresee that. Again, I took the mindset of, hey, if we're able to clean up against some of these lesser teams there, we had the Rangers twice, the Sabres twice, and the Devils twice. I really thought that was a chance where we can go ahead and rack up some points and some momentum heading into the playoffs against the cellar dwellers. Well, we split. Again, I know there's some overtime wins, overtime losses, everything like that. But in the end, you have 3 wins, 3 losses there in that 6-game stretch, all against the teams that are in the bottom half of the division. It just doesn't make you feel reassured as a fan. I know we're starting to bench some players, but still, and rest players, it just is not reassuring.
Well, the whole thing is we went, 1-3 against the bottom 2 teams. Okay, here's the thing. We're going to get up for the Ranger games. Okay, we play well against the Rangers. Great. But how do you play everybody else? And that's the one thing a Barry Trotz team has always done. We've always beaten the teams we're supposed to beat. Right now, with the exception of tonight, we're not doing that. And I don't think that speaks well going into the playoffs, regardless of how they try to sell it.
We've got breaking news here. Live on the Islanders Never Say Die podcast, Blue Jackets coach John Tortorella will not be returning next season there with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Wow.
Well, but think about it. The one thing about Torts, his style, I think he's a good coach, but his style is not something where you're going to last a super long time at any one place, because eventually the players tune you out. Now, for me, I think he'd be fantastic going back to the Rangers in this young group. They need somebody to kind of grab them by the throat and say, "Hey, you're going to be as good as you can be." Not college Quinn, Johnny Rah Rah. No.
Oh my goodness. I will tell you this much. You're right. Torts has an unbelievable short shelf life because of the way he coaches and the bombastic style he has. You're right. It's only a matter of time there before players start to tune him out. And that shows there, right? I mean, the Columbus Blue Jackets, they return a little bit back to earth after last season, to where they kind of defied all odds, in my opinion. But, hey, dead last in the division. They're looking grumpy old man this year at 48 points. Technically, sit over top of them in the division.
Yeah, but he did a great job last year with them when really everyone thought after you lose Panarin, Bobrovsky, and who's the other guy they lost? Yes, they lost all three guys, and somehow they made the playoffs and really gave Tampa a run for the money in the first round. They did. I think he's a good coach, but he's a lot like Mike Keenan. Like you said, short shelf life, particularly with today's NHL players. But he will get immediate results, like Billy Martin used to do, whatever team he went and coached when he was with the Yankees in Texas and the Oakland A's. Immediately, and Detroit Tigers, they immediately got better. And Minnesota when he first started there. They immediately got better if they have talent. But you can't last there forever because those guys wind up self-destructing in the long run.
Yeah, D-Cut also says there, he calls Kyle Palmieri the milk carton because he's missing for a month.
That's a winner from D-Cut. I'm going to give him that. That's a winner from D-Cut. But the only thing is, hopefully, that take ages better than an old milk carton. Because if he starts scoring, that milk is rancid, and that name no longer applies.
Well, that's great. I hope that name fades poorly. I hope Kyle Palmieri absolutely lights the score sheet up and does what we originally anticipated him to do when he joined the Islanders. That's what I hope happens. Do I see it? No, I don't foresee that happening. And I was one of the big believers that this trade was really going to work well there for the Islanders. It just hasn't. Well, I guess we'll hit it more on later because we'll have an entire week to prep there for, matchups and what we expect there going into the playoffs. But moving right along there through the comments there, Matthew S. says, really confused with the lineup decisions.
I think what you saw tonight is what you're going to see come playoff time. I with the exception of Clutterbuck for Zajac. Other than that, I think those are the lines you're going to see in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, that was the exact same lineup for the most part that we've been throwing out there on a pretty consistent basis. I mean, there's nobody that's going to take Leo Komarov and dethrone him off of the elite first line left wing position. That is for certain, grumpy old man.
Yeah, that's a failure by Lou when, going into the playoffs, your top line left wing is Leo Komarov. That's a failure, inexcusable. And Varley would be the other change in the lineup. He'll be in there instead of Sherlock.
Varlamov rattling off those shutouts left and right. I had no idea it made him finish, I believe, second in both goals against average and save percentage this season. I mean, think about it, right? Marc-Andre Fleury had a stranglehold on the Vezina, midway through the season. And, Varlamov having an unbelievable second half there and really hot down the stretch, throws some things into question, in my opinion.
No, I think it's Marc-Andre Fleury's to lose at this point in time. They're a better defensive team than we are. They've given up less goals. He's been really sensational, and he's extremely well liked, and that helps.
Yeah,
he is really well liked. I mean, it's almost impossible to hate Marc-Andre Fleury. How do you? Just a nice guy.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk more about it, grumpy old man. But we do have a caller here as well that we'll go ahead and connect in. Hey, you're live here with TJ and the grumpy old man. Who do we have calling in?
Hey, TJ, it's Phil. How's it going?
Hey, Phil, how are you?
I am good. I'm good. First, I wanted to thank Grumpy for giving me a shout out last time, mentioning that he appreciated my style, and I wanted to speak a little bit slower this time because I know Grumpy had mentioned that he wasn't able to remember everything I said. So
hey, hold on, Phil. Hold on. It's only because if you talk too long, like TJ does sometimes, I lose. I'm like, okay, no. But you make very salient points. I'm going to give you that. Way better than TJ.
I appreciate that.
God almighty, Grump. Yeah,
I appreciate that. I had a couple of things that I wanted to mention. I wanted to be again. I don't want to take up too much time. I never do, but I had a couple of interesting things I wanted to mention. I don't want to get into the discussion we had on Twitter because I heard you guys, rehash that earlier, and everyone has their own opinion on it. But I guess the first thing I would say on the Palmieri subject, what Palmieri is primarily is a power play specialist. If you go back to 2015 when he started ripping off 30-goal seasons like he did with the Devils, he scored 40% of his goals in the power play. That's the number that it is. He's tied with Sidney Crosby since 2015 in power play goals, and only 13 players have more than him. He's like a hair behind Ovechkin in terms of power play goals per minute, as a matter of fact, which is absolutely nuts. But they're using him in the worst spot possible. The Devils never used him in the slot. If you go back and I watched 33 of his power play goals from 17 to 20, he's on the left dot where they put Wahlstrom. So having both of them on the same power play makes absolutely zero sense and begs the question, have they not watched any film on this guy at all? Because the best thing that this guy does, he's an elite shooter, probably a better shooter than Wahlstrom, right? Wallstrom's a rookie, so you can't say that he's a better shooter than a guy like Palmieri who's been doing it for the past who knows how many years. But he is never in the slot on all the film I've watched of him playing for the Devils. So that's the first thing I wanted to give you, and I wanted to hear Grumpy's take on that.
Okay. I'm glad you stopped because I'm thinking, all right, if Phil goes on too much damn longer, I'm going to forget what I want to say on this. Okay, 2 points. Thank you. Here's the thing. I don't have time to look over that film. Fantastic. Good job. And
Phil's posted all of it, so I'm just going to start playing some too, Grump. So as you're speaking, you'll be able to see it as well. But I did get a chance there to check that out, Phil. A lot of those goals did come from that, trigger man position there where he did go ahead and have that, and he was able to go ahead and place it there in the right spot there, crossbody a lot of times as well.
Okay, TJ. So now let me see if I can regain what I was going to say before you interrupted. Thank you, Phil, for doing all that legwork because honestly, I don't have the time to do that. Now, I'm glad you put the film up because you could make me look stupid for saying you're doing a good job and just did make me look bad. So but great job on that film. And then it begs the question, they had to know, how do you not know, since you've been playing against this guy for so many years, what his strengths and weaknesses are? And it's the typical Barry Trotz way, right? It's we try to jam a guy instead of putting him in the best chance to succeed where he's produced in the past. We're going to jam him into something that he doesn't potentially do well. And that's, to me, is a mistake.
Yeah, and I agree. And that's the first thing. Again, 40% of this guy's goal production comes from the power play. He's never been an elite 5-on-5 scorer, but he is an elite power play scorer. And the fact that he's tied with Crosby during that time period should tell you that. The other thing I wanted to get to is kind of like a two-pronged point, which was, we've been discussing who's the better matchup between Pittsburgh and between Washington. Kind of torn on this. If you look back at it in terms of, NHL games, so games that didn't go to overtime, because that overtimes and shootouts don't exist in the playoffs, of course. 2-4 against Pitt, 2-5 against Washington. We have definitely played against Pittsburgh better. And Pittsburgh, before they got hot recently, from April 3rd to April 20th, they were pretty terrible. They gave up back-to-back games of 7 goals and 8 goals to the Bruins and the Rangers, and that's the pre-Taylor Hall Bruins. They lost to Buffalo in there. They gave up 6 goals in the third period and almost became the first team in NHL history to blow a 6-goal lead to the New Jersey Devils. So again, they've started playing better as of late with Jeff Carter, but it also happens to coincide with the time where they are cashing in 30% of their high danger chances, which is number 1 in the league by far, and they have the second highest shooting percentage in the league. So their shooting percentage is ripe for correction, and they also don't have a goaltender that's ever been in a playoff game. So that's an intriguing matchup. So that's just my 2 cents on that. And then the last thing related to that is we're only going to have Varlamov in the playoffs. And an interesting stat that I went and dug through was that with Varley in net, the Islanders scored about 2.87 goals per game, so almost 2.9 goals per game. With Sorokin, it's closer to 2.65. They have been shut out 4.5 times with Sorokin in net. They've only been shut out once with Varlamov in net. I'm wondering if even subconsciously the players, when they play, because Sorokin faced fewer shots than Varlamov, he's made fewer, his save percentage is lower. I'm wondering if maybe subconsciously they have less trust in Sorokin and therefore they play a more clamped down type of game, which constrains their offense. Because if you look at their numbers with Varlamov in net, which is close to 2.9, that would be good for about 15th in the league. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. And I'm going to hop off so I don't jam up your phone lines. But have a great night, guys.
Thank you, Phil. Yes, that is a lot of teams do that. When they have a backup in there, it's a conscious effort. Okay, let's make sure we buckle down on defense. And that is, I'm not saying that is the case, but it most certainly could be the case without a doubt. The point before with Pittsburgh, one other thing that Pittsburgh played a lot of tougher teams early and had a lot of easier teams down the stretch, would certainly help propel them, as well as the Carter trade and getting everybody kind of back healthy. So, and I do agree with about Tristan Yari, whatever, the guy who plays goal for Pittsburgh. He has not been tested yet. And that's why I kind of picked Pittsburgh as a team I'd want to play, because potentially they're not as good defensively as Washington.
I'll put it to you like this. The point that he made about the Islanders playing a little differently with Sorokin in net than Varlamov in net, I 100% believe that subconsciously there is an issue. You look at different sports as well. Soccer, they do the same exact thing. When you have a different guy in net and you kind of jam up a little bit of the familiarity you have out there on the ice, I always think that messes things up a little bit. And it probably won't be for a while until they feel 100% comfortable with Sorokin in net, where they can play the same exact style with Sorokin as well as Varlamov. Whether that's just issues and things they've noticed in practice that make them worry a little bit, I definitely do believe that is a point. Anytime I see Sidney Crosby, I just worry that he is going to tear us up. It's the same exact issue I have with Jacob Voracek, as well as anytime we see Verana.
Yeah, well, certain teams are just good against certain teams, and Crosby certainly is. But Pulock and Pelech have done a pretty nice job containing him in the last couple of years. That's all I'll say to that. I'm still going to go with Pittsburgh, only because if we can beat Pittsburgh, we have a better chance of beating the Washington Boston winner, and that's the only reason. Really.
You're over here thinking, Grumpy old man, we're getting a real chance there to win a Stanley Cup. Is that what I'm gathering from you?
I'm saying getting to the semifinals, and depending on who we play in the semifinals, anything can happen in the playoffs. I just wish we were playing better as a team right now. We're just not playing real well as a team right now. That worries me.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I share those worries as some fans do as well. Hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Brian P. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Brian P? Sorry, I mistakenly thought you called in earlier, but I called D-Cut as,
That's
again,
right.
It should be an honor. It should be an honor there to be compared to D-Cut.
Right. Me and D-Cut are cut from the same cloth, man. It's all good. just a few quick points, piggyback off what he said, and well, the guy with all the stats before me. Here's a stat for you guys. 9 of the top 10 highest scoring teams in the league are in the top 10 in record. The Boston Bruins are the only one. They're 10th, and they're moving up fast in goals for since the Hall trade. Number 2, I don't agree with him about Palmieri being a better shooter than Wally. No way. Wahlstrom can create his own shot. Well, Palmieri has to be fit. So that's, just because he's older doesn't mean he's got a better shot. But it was a good win tonight. And one quick last one, I think the Rangers might hire Bruce Boudreau for their coach. What do you think?
He's kind of cut from the, not as bad as Torts, but the same type of coach also. He's been out for a while. I do think they need a new coach. But remember, Chris Drury was really instrumental in bringing Johnny Rah-Rah, College Quinn, into coach. So I think they need a different direction as a coach. I mean, if you get rid of the president, the GM, how does the coach keep his job? I mean, he's responsible for actually what the guys are producing on the ice. And I didn't think the Rangers were that. I thought it was a mistake by the Rangers to get rid of those guys, because I thought their arrow was pointing up.
I agree.
I mean, and I just don't know what they want to do for another direction. I thought it was just. I thought that was a James Dolan thing all the way, and I think a mistake in the long run.
Me too.
John Davidson is a really good front office guy, and Gorton has shown that he's a good GM too. I just don't know why they did it. Well, I know why they did it, but certainly not for hockey reasons.
Yeah, Dolan's a clown. That's why.
Ask the Knicks how they feel about him, right? Same thing.
Oh,
He's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think we will admit that something Phil said, not utilizing Palmieri correctly, which is not a shock because Barry's going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah.
But they could put him in a greater chance to succeed, and they just haven't so far. Maybe they will, but who knows?
Absolutely.
I think Wallstrom's got a better shot, though.
He does. I love his shot. You don't even see it half the time.
Me too.
I mean,
Yeah.
he generated 2 chances today.
Off the stick.
Yeah, and 2 chances today were directly from shots from Wallstrom, just where the goalie just can't handle him and kicking those rebounds out. Right, one to Nelson. I forget who the other guy was, but they just kicked it out right in front of the net, and we missed it. It's like, okay, but those are chances created by that shot, and you don't see that from Palmieri.
Barzy, Bo, and Wally for first line.
There you go. Why not?
They'll never do it, but
No.
I love it.
They got
It would be good.
face-offs.
I'd love that line.
Well,
Thank you so much, BP.
Thank you, Brian
All
P,
right,
for
guys.
calling in. I appreciate it. Thank you, my friend.
All right, fellas. Have a good one.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian P, there for calling in. I will tell you this much, though, about Kyle Palmieri. And I'm glad Phil called in to bring that up, though, too, because I did get a chance there to kind of look at those posts and kind of read up about it, what he was posting about. I was like, oh, that does make a lot of sense there. And again, when he's gotten a good opportunity with those crossbody shots there, when he has a chance to set up in that trigger man position. And I did think it was odd that we were not playing him in that spot, in that role. And
Doesn't make you wonder? Doesn't make you wonder why he doesn't play the left wing position at all? I mean, because that's the trigger spot that he plays. He's playing the left side. You know what I mean? I understand he's not played well on the left side, and I'm just like, okay, if that's where he played for the Devils on the power play, why is he not capable of doing it as a veteran in any way, shape, or form on a regular shift? Just something to think about. That's all.
Frank Hale also saying there, I want the Capitals in the first round. I want Wilson punished by the Islanders. You saw what happened to Wilson today, right, Grumpy?
No, what happened?
It was a collision today, and his knee was kind of extended. It was odd to see the Twitter handle that posted it said that, oh, this looks like Tom Wilson trying to sleuth foot whoever he was going against. It just looks like an inadvertent knock. It's anytime anybody gets injured, it's always, it's never fun. Even though what Tom Wilson usually does is not something I support, you don't ever want to see guys get hurt.
No, I mean, so did Wilson hurt somebody again? Is that what happened?
Wilson wound up leaving the ice there. He wound up banging up his knee a little bit, Grumpy old man. I'm going to get pulled up for you, but he wound up banging up his knee a little bit.
I don't think that we are tough enough to match up with Wilson unless Ross Johnston's on the ice. Other than that, he'll bully us. I just firmly believe that. Ross Johnston keeps him in check. That's all I'll say. When Ross Johnston's on the ice, Tom Wilson is a non-factor against us.
Yeah, I'll tell you here, and I'll make sure I pop it up on the screen for you, Grumpy old man, because you don't ever like to see a guy going down. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious there to him, just enough to go ahead and keep him out there in case the Islanders go ahead and play them. Grumpy old man. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll let you see it there in live action.
Oh, I'll tell you what, that looks like intent to injure shot right there.
No. Okay, who do you think it was intent to injure? Because obviously, the Twitter
Flyer guy went right at him.
Nicholas Abe-Kubel.
Whatever. I don't know his name. He went right at him, though.
I think it's inadvertent. I really don't think this is. Here's the thing, right? Tom Wilson's the guy there for purposely going out and try to mix things up. So if something like that did happen again, you play with fire. Sometimes you get burned. That being said, though, you never like to see anybody injured. I just don't think this was intentional. I just thought it was inadvertent. You see it here in slow motion. It'll come up here in a second, Grumpy old man. I just think that's inadvertent. They're both going for the puck.
Absolutely not. He went right at him. He went right at him. The puck was all the way down the other side. He went right at him. Watch this. Watch
And
it.
the last second, he's not even looking. And at last second, you see Abe Kubel's head start turning. He's like, "Oh, here's Tom Wilson. Let me not hit his center of mass right in the chest." I just think that's inadvertent. And again, he's limping off the ice, and if it
Let me
does
just say
keep him out,
this.
hopefully it keeps him out just long enough where if the Islanders are playing the Washington Capitals the first round, we won't have to see Tom Wilson. And nothing.
Let me just say this. That's good news. I don't care what he did. I don't care if it was intentional, unintentional. Tom Wilson's out. That's good news for us. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Well, anytime, same thing if like a Sidney Crosby went out there and it's like, hey, I've got the mumps. As long as it's nothing too serious and it keeps him out there for an extended time period, that's fine. That's good news for the Islanders. So I'm not gonna pretend like it's not.
I'm gonna say, get well, Tom. Hope you're ready for 2022.
Oh my goodness, grumpy old man. We got another comment here from Ariel C. They're saying, I think Trotz may have done something in the last few games. I think big things are coming in the playoffs, and I know Grumpy will disagree with me, but tell me what you think, guys.
I hope there are big things in the playoffs. I don't think Barry has any answers right now. I think that he rested guys like Barzell and fourth liners. He rested them to send a message to the rest of the team. It didn't get their desired result. So he came out and he said, well, we're just resting guys for the playoffs. So he does it for the next game. And who does he rest? Everly and more scrubs. And then after that, well, the fans have probably forgotten what I said earlier in the week. So I'm not going to rest anybody the last two games.
Okay. Did you listen when I read that question? They said, hopefully big things are coming in the playoffs. I want to know what you think. And you still managed to redirect that to the little snippet she leaves right there at the front and says, I know Trotz may have done some things the last few games. You see how you're fixated on that point?
I said, I hope that's the case. You weren't listening. I said, I hope that's the case, but I don't see it. And it did give me an in to talk about Barry because she did address that what Trotz had done in the past few games. So I addressed that as well.
You went ahead and said, I'm going to mention the comment real quick. And I go, let me go ahead and zoom in on the point. I want to go ahead and continue to drive home.
That's what I do. That is what I do. I answered the question, okay, the playoff question. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Barry knows. He's just hoping. That's what I think. He's just hoping because nothing's working right now. And then I brought in the point of Barry and his ridiculous comments of the last week and a half. That's all. I want you to remember, TJ. If you die tonight, you'll remember that comment.
Dying tonight, Grump? Jesus, man. I mean, that means tonight. Oh, come on, Grump. If I die tonight, what, Grump? What do you want to tell me?
It'll be the end of the podcast. That's for certain.
There's no way in hell you're running the podcast there in your own Grump.
I admit that. I know.
You'll have a for work or for hire sign out here. I don't even know how you get it out there because you don't have social media. So maybe you're just going to have to go, maybe travel to New York, and you'll be on the side of the roads there in Long Island saying, "Hey, I'm a
podcast for food."
We'll give hot takes for food on a microphone. Please, I need a home.
Now, first of all, I didn't say I hoped. I just said, in case you do, you will remember my points about Barry Trotz. That's all. Maybe when you go to sleep tonight, you'll go, yeah, that grumpy old man, he was so smart saying about Barry Trotz. Because hey, let me tell you something. From where you used to be on this podcast, a total Pollyanna fan, you've kind of come a little bit over to the dark side, a little bit in the gray area now.
I won't say I'm in a gray area. I try to look at it from all different sides and all different aspects. And, what I come to my conclusion is like, okay, time to turn off all the shit in the background noise. This is what I realistically think there. Again, you try to cut through the coach talk because there's a lot of freaking coach talk out there. And I just try to cut through all that type of information. Moving right along.
The other fans believe all that coach talk. That's the point.
Well, we got a YouTube comment there from Nick D saying, TJ Grump, you were so right about benching Barzal. I agree from your last podcast, the defense there, 2-3-6 in 24 should rest against Boston.
I am so glad he brought this up. Nick D, smart, really smart right there. You want to know how come? Because he said the grumpy old man is so right about benching Matt Barzal. He's probably got a stupendous IQ. But, right, if your whole thing is you want to rest players going into the playoffs, why haven't you rested Pelech and Pulak, who get maximum minutes? Wouldn't you want to give them a game off, especially against a team since the points don't matter? by the end of the year. He said so himself. Being healthy is, why would you not rest those guys going into the playoffs? Barry, I know that's not a question that any of the cartel will ask, but the grumpy old man would.
Okay, grumpy old man. I'll tell you this. They're not going to rest anybody going to Boston. You want to have your entire lineup out there. You can give that face all you want. You want to, the last game of the season, you want to try to have, if you can avoid it, you want to try to avoid benching anybody. You want to be able to have the entire squad out there. So it's not like, hey, the first game of the playoffs is like a tune-up game there for us. You don't want that to be the case, even though you're going to have 4 or 5 days off. So no need to bench anybody or rest anybody the last game of the season. I will tell you, here's the issue I have, ladies and gentlemen. Out of our 6 defensemen, we only rested one of them, and that was Andy Green, and we slide in Colburn. Yikes. I'm not a huge Colburn fan based off of what we've seen on the ice. And here's also a point. Why the hell not slowly integrate people in to give, some of those defensemen that play huge minutes, like your Puloks, like your Pelliks, give Hickey and give Aho a chance? Because guess what? Let's say 2 defensemen go down. Are you mimicking me right now, Grumpy?
No, I'm agreeing with your points. I can't wait to chime in after you get done.
Go ahead, Grump.
It's like, I cannot believe I'm going to say this. You mentioned Coburn, right? Okay. I'd rather have Thomas Hickey over Coburn. Think about that. That is, for people who haven't listened to this podcast a long time, that is an incredible statement I just made. Because Thomas Hickey is a waste, but he's better than Colburn is. But the whole thing is, why didn't you rest Mayfield one night, Leddy another night, Pellick one night, Pulak a night? You want to get all these guys rest, and it's not benching, TJ. As Barry said, he's not benching anyone, giving them rest, because that's most important, rest.
Giving him rest, I'm sorry.
Give them rest. So why not rest these guys? Particularly considering they haven't missed a game all year. Why not rest them before an arduous playoff run? I'm just saying, Matt Barzal needed the rest.
It scares me too, because the playoffs, anything could happen. Players getting injured happens. And if you're going to have a long playoff run, and if you're planning on making it to the Stanley Cup Finals, every single year, the runner-up and whoever wins the Stanley Cup, you always find out days later, oh, this person was playing with a hernia. Oh, this person was playing with a broken wrist. He came back and, game 5 there with a broken wrist. He broke his wrist. Adam Pellick did. He came back, though. You're going to have injuries. And to think that, hey, only maybe one of our defensemen might get injured over that time period, if you're really thinking about a long-term run here in the Stanley Cup Finals, the only person that's had really any experience playing as of recent is Colburn.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You mentioned injuries. We're going to go a little bit off track here. I want to bring in a movie reference, as I want to do. They showed Anders Lee today up wherever he was, wearing his little mask, and he had a hat on. And the hat reminded me of Grover Dill. Do you know who Grover Dill is, TJ?
I do not know who Grover Dill is.
Grover Dill was Scott Farkas's little toady in A Christmas Story. He had a hat just like that.
Oh, grumpy old man. Yeah, well.
You remember that? You remember that?
I remember the Christmas Story, grumpy old man. And for those of you who don't know,
there he is.
His name there, Grover
Dill, aka Average Anders Lee, all grown up.
Well, you say it reminds you of Grover Dill. Well, I think of a little something different. When I saw the hat, I immediately thought of the Peaky Blinders. I thought of the little Peaky Blinders hat like this, grumpy old man, is what I thought of.
No, nobody knows who that clown is. They know who Grover Dill is. You better get your pop. If you're going to use a pop reference, a pop culture comment, you better have. Nobody knows what Peaky Blinders is. It's stupid. It's stupid. They don't even speak English, and they're from England. Anything that's in English that you have to put subtitles on, guess what it means? It's not good enough.
No, freaking stop. I'm telling you. Peaky Blinders is a very, very popular a very, very popular show there on Netflix, grumpy old man. You know that, right?
Yeah, okay. Christmas Story is on every year on regular television. You don't have to get some super subscription to watch some piece of garbage like that you can watch in 15 minutes. A Christmas Story, Grover Dill. That's who he looked like with his little cap. I mean, what the hell is he doing wearing a cap?
God almighty. Well, hey, he's a fashion choice, and he's got more fashion than you and I put together, grumpy old man.
Says
Brian,
who?
Brian,
I bet you he doesn't have a Josh Bailey shirt like I do.
he doesn't have a hey Josh Bailey. I want to know, or we want to know if you're going to score goals. So he probably doesn't have a shirt like that. Brian John there says, I wonder if the Islanders get bounced quick, does Lou Lamoriello retire? He's up
Nope.
there in age.
No, he's going to be there, and he should be there. I just wish that they would have a real, honest to goodness. Hey, let's reassess the direction of the team. We're going to have to change some things up going into next year. That's what I just wish they would do. He and Trotz together, because Trotz is a good coach. But I would love to see them tweak the style that they play now to accommodate more offense and maybe bringing in some better offensive talent. That's what I'd like to see them do. And he is up there in age. He makes me look like a real youngster.
He does. I mean, hell, he still used the landline. Anyway, that being said, grumpy old man, I think it's an interesting point. I don't think Lou's going anywhere, nor should he. But you think to yourself, how many years realistically does Lou Lamoriello have? Maybe 1-2 years there when we're at the new arena there at UBS?
2 or 3.
Here forever.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to get some results.
Yeah. And Brian P. also chiming in saying we play one good game and everybody thinks we're ready for the playoffs.
Right. That's why I'm like, let's pump the brakes. All right. We played a game, and I didn't think we played great. But we played certainly well enough to win and deserve to win that game. But it's against, one of the cellar dwellers. And we haven't played well. I just wish we were playing better going into the playoffs. I'd feel better. That's all.
Mark A chimes in saying we can beat Pittsburgh.
I hope he's right. I mean, like I said, I think Washington's a little too physical for us. So maybe we can impose our will a little bit on Pittsburgh. And I'm not sold on the Jarry, Tristan J. I'm not sold on him as the goalie at this point. And I don't think their defense is great, but man, they're really humming offensively right now.
Gotcha, grumpy old man. Phil chimed in there. He let me know. He said, if we wanted to play Hickey or any other defenseman, one of either Wahlstrom, Dobson, or Sorokin would have to have been moved there to the taxi squad in order to free up the space. Here's the thing, too. You're going to play Varlamov there one game. Why the hell not move Sorokin there to the taxi squad so you can give one of those guys there a chance to get in there, especially if you're like, hey, if Varlamov's in, you're not planning on pulling him. Just go ahead and move there Schneider if you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Like, I know this taxi squad it's a pain to know all the rules. I mean, like, it's going to be over. I don't think there's going to be any more taxi squad next season. So it's a one-off type of thing. So I didn't really invest enough time, I'm sure, learning all the nuances there of that. But again, if you're going to play Varlamov, why the heck not just go ahead and roll Schneider in there, go ahead and move Sorokin there to the taxi squad, and then go ahead and start integrating more players there into the lineup. So, but again, it's time will tell. Time will tell, Grump.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Lou didn't slide his old pal Snyder in there just to give him another year of service. I think that would have been nice.
Well, here's the thing, too, right? They're playing against the Devils, his old team. And that's the reason why, hey, we're going to leave there Zajac, we're going to leave Palmieri, and they're playing the Devils. Here you go, right? Get everybody rested. I don't mind resting the goalie. Varlamov's had an unbelievable season this year. Go ahead, give him some rest.
Yeah, I know Chico does not want him to. I know he doesn't want to play the last game. I don't think we'd shut out Boston anyway, but they're tied for most shutouts in a season for in Islander history, Varley. And think about it. Varlamov's done it in 56 games? Or, well, it's not 56 games he's played, but 56 games overall. And Chico has the record of 7 when he played.
Yeah, and I wanted to pull up. I had no idea that the numbers were so narrow. Really, because Varlamov, midway through the season, I mean, like, he was definitely still top 5, but it was head over heels. Marc-Andre Fleury was number 1 there, Grumpy old man. What's going on, Grump?
I was having something to drink. Is that okay?
Okay, hear loud cricking. I was like, I didn't know if something was going on with your camera. I'm not listening.
My bottle, sometimes it creaks.
Well, you've got negative ASMR.
I don't drink out of a freaking fire hydrant like you do. Just turn the wrench and slap my mouth on the outside. I use a bottle.
Well, thank you, Grumpy old man. But I mean, seriously, look at the numbers. I know it's going to be hard for you to see here, Grumpy, so I'm going to try zooming in for you.
Yeah, try that, because I mean, holy crap!
Oh, goodness.
You need a telescope to read that.
Well, Well, again, Varlamov sits at number 2 there in goals against average and number 2 in save percentage. Again, when you're able to go ahead and rattle off there a few shutouts in the last few games of the season, it really does go ahead and make those numbers look even better. And I don't want to minimize because he's had an outstanding season, and I just want to put it into play. He top 5 goalie in the NHL this season based off of numbers again.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you what, the kid from Carolina is a rookie, I believe. That goalie. I can't read his name because, like I said, it's in I don't know. I can't.
Alex, I'm going to be honest with you, Grumpy. Even if I could see it, I'm going to butcher the name. I mean, you look at this. Alex, ooh, when I see a name like that, Grumpy, I'm like, I haven't heard his name enough. I don't watch enough Carolina Hurricane games. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, Grumpy old man. I can't pronounce Eve. I can't even pronounce Eve Legan's name right. Okay, one of the listeners of the podcast. So I'm not going to try. That name.
Where's he from?
He's from there, Ohio.
Oh, Alex N from Ohio. I mean, all I'm going to say is he's putting up incredible numbers. I believe he's a rookie. So, I mean, what was Carolina's issue the last couple of years, right? You had Mrazek in goal. They weren't great goaltending-wise. Well, it looks like this kid's doing pretty darn good.
Yeah, you wonder, though. Again, he's come up there for a short little stint. He's one of those older rookie goaltenders that have come in. That being said, though, I just want to talk, again, because it is Islanders, I did want to talk. Varlamov's had an outstanding season. I don't think he's getting enough national recognition. He's number 2 in save percentage and number 2 in goals against average. I know the wins aren't there, with the Vasilevskis or the Grubauers. That being said, though, unbelievable season on his behalf. Unbelievable year for Varlamov this year.
I think it's the same thing that Brodeur, for as great as he was early in his career, he was always considered second fiddle to Roy, even though he had better numbers. And I think it's because of the system that they played. And I think that hurts Islander goalies as well. Leonard before him and Greiss certainly. And Varlamov has certainly benefited playing for this coach and this team and those goaltending coaches. And I think that hurts them when it comes to that.
I broke out the magnifying glass.
Oh, there you go. See, now I can read that. Look at that. Mitch Marner. Hey, Mitch Marner, wasn't he a Lou Lamoriello draft pick? He sure was. Thank you very much. Part of that rebuild for Toronto.
Oh goodness. You're trying to goad everybody into it, Grumpy. We're not going to let you do that today.
Okay. Austin Matthews after that. He was only there 3 years. Good job, Lou.
Brett, let's go Islanders there, chimes in saying, sorry I'm late, guys, but hey, great shirt, grumpy old man with a laughing face there. Oh, goodness.
Yes, we spoke. Brett owns the company, does he not?
Yes,
okay, yeah. So we gave you a really good pop there, Brett. More clothes come the grumpy old man's way, and you never know, there could be more compliments.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Thank you so much, though.
Oh, goodness gracious, grumpy old man. Okay.
Net Threads with a Z.
Yeah, Brian J there says, guy got Kyle Palmieri instead of Hall. What does that tell you? Well, again, Hall chose that he wanted to go to Boston. Yeah. They had a whole bunch of empty and free cap there. So they can go ahead and sign him to a long-term deal afterwards. So I think that was always the area he wanted to go play for.
Right. I'm not going to fault Lou on that. He was in on him, but he only wanted to go to Boston. And that's what ended up happening. But certainly it would have helped us a lot more than Kyle Palmieri has. And they only gave up a second-round pick for him. We gave up, 6 1s, 7 2s, and 15 4s for him and Travis Zajac for 15 games and an abbreviated postseason run. Good job, Lou.
Hold on. Can you recap? What did we give up again?
6 1s, 7 2s, and 15 4s for he and Zajac for 15 or 16 games and an abbreviated playoff run. Thank you.
That is quite a hefty price there to play for Palmieri and Zajac. That is true, Grumpy.
It sure is. Now, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Lou, and I'm just going to say, okay, Lou, because it's a Lou thing, doesn't like anybody wearing beards or any facial hair during the season. But during the playoffs, you can grow facial hair. Why does the standard change after the regular season? And do you think Palmieri can be like Samson from the biblical Samson and Delilah times, where maybe the beard makes him an incredible goal scorer? Do you think that's possible?
Yes, I 100% think that's possible, grumpy old man. And based off the way he looks, he's going to be able to grow that beard back in a matter of a week. So come playoff time, he's going to be netting 30 or 40 goals, Grump. I feel confident he's able to grow the beard back. Oh, he's got his Samson going on. To be realistic, I couldn't tell you why they're allowed to do that in the playoffs. I just know that it's tradition. So maybe he kind of lets the rule be a little more lax. But that is definitely an old and antiquated thought here. You're not allowed to grow beards. It's like, what did Steinbrenner not allow beards either?
Nothing. No facial. Your hair couldn't be too long or anything like that.
The collar or something like that. What are the rules?
Yeah.
Crazy rules like that too.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They felt that I think it's like a military thing, honestly. Where like in the military, you go into the military, you go into boot camp, everybody gets their head shaved. And why do you think they do that? Because they want everybody to be the same.
They want uniformity.
That's right. And that's what I think Lou wants. And that's what Steinbrenner wanted. And, I think that's why they did it. Just kidding on the Lou thing. But I just find it interesting that, maybe the Samson thing will come through for Kyle Palmieri. And then we'll have to say Lou is a genius for saving up all those goals for playoff time.
For Kyle Palmieri, he just didn't want to go ahead and utilize those goals in the regular season.
Yeah,
maybe Barry after listening and looking there at Phil's tweets is going to be like, "Hey, maybe this guy's on to something here. Maybe it's time we go ahead and roll Palmieri out on the trigger slot there on the second line."
We can only help, and I appreciate Phil for doing that because I don't. First of all, I'm not able to pull any type of clips or anything like that. I can't do that, so I can't do it. And thank you, Phil, for doing that. I do appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, we do. And Nick D also chiming in saying we're 6 points behind Pittsburgh and 1 point behind Boston. We can beat Pittsburgh if we play Islanders hockey.
And if Pittsburgh plays Rangers hockey, we can beat them.
Oh.
I think if Pittsburgh is hitting on all cylinders, they're going to be tough to beat. They're playing really well right now. They're playing really well, and teams that can forecheck and can skate and score are going to give us problems.
I gotta love it. Our boy Jay Rich is back. Trotz is God. There it is. Jay.
Thank you, Jay. Jay, I love you. You're great.
Moving right along there.
Just to show that we bring anyone can talk on this, can say their point on this podcast. We don't. It doesn't matter what your point of view is. If it's divergent from ours, that's fine. Well, first of all, you're probably going to agree with DJ because he's goose stepping to Barry's everything that he says.
Goodness, grumpy old man. Moving right along there. Brian J says Leo Komarov possibly going to get a 4-year extension.
That is true because the Soviet Red Army, once he's done playing, he has to do service time back in Russia. So he can learn how to carry a rifle.
Oh, it's Estonia, Crump. Oh, goodness.
Whatever.
Anyway, moving right along there. Eric A says just about everyone didn't want Carter at the trade deadline. He's too old and only has 9 goals so far.
That's an example of a guy fitting into a system and what they do there. And Jeff Carter can still shoot the puck at 36. He would not have been a good fit here. Like I said, different style. I don't think even Pittsburgh dreamed he was going to have 9 goals in, 15, 12 games. I don't think they even imagined that. Good for Jeff Carter. Honestly, good for Jeff Carter.
Yeah, no, he's performed better than can ever have imagined. Even if they thought, hey, Jeff Carter's going to be a perfect fit here, there's no way they could have anticipated he'd be off to such a hot start here. Changing teams. Jerry Springer here saying, Jerry Springer, yo, just tuning in now. Is Grumpy Old Man wearing the shirt I had recommended about Josh Bailey?
I don't know if you recommended that shirt. It was gifted to me, and I'm always willing to wear, unless it's something disgusting, like TJ is great. So I wouldn't wear something like that. But, anything else I'm pretty much willing to wear if somebody sends it to me. And they'll get credit for it too. That's why Brett gets credit. Thank you, Brett.
That being said, I totally forgot to mention it. If you like the content we produce here on the Islanders, it's only about an hour and 30 minutes in before I made sure to pump our other podcast live stream, Grumpy Old Man, the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Again, it's on YouTube there, Facebook and Twitter. We go live on Thursdays after Islander games if the Islanders are playing. We talk more generalized sports where Grumpy Old Man and I talk soccer, football, hockey, baseball, and NBA and basketball, grumpy old man's favorite.
I think I did mention something about basketball, maybe how it sucks. I don't remember, but I think we did. But those podcasts are a lot shorter, and I don't recommend the draft when it was just TJ pontificating on offensive guards, offensive tackles, offensive centers. No. Okay, this one was much shorter, and that's how we're trying to keep those a little bit shorter. Of course, we do answer questions, but it's just shorter in length, and we're more broad-based.
Yeah, it's just a shorter little 1 hour long podcast live stream where we get to talk all things sport. We don't feel pigeonholed and remorseful if we go off topic too much because the podcast is meant to be more off topic.
And just to touch base, why I gave TJ such a hard time about the Hall of Fame thing, one of the topics we talked about on Thursday's episode was how TJ feels that Jacob deGrom is a Hall of Famer.
Okay, grumpy old man. I said if he can pitch another 3 or 4 years at the same caliber he's pitching at now, hell, he's got Cy Youngs. He's been unbelievable. He's led league in ERA, strikeouts, as well as WHIP at time period. And at this point in time right now, he's leading the league in ERA and strikeouts. I'm just saying, if he's able to continue to produce until he's 36, 37 years old, he's a Hall of Fame caliber player. That's all, Grump.
So that's kind of what you miss. And then he was shredding Baker Mayfield. That was another thing. So
I know. Grumpy loves Baker. Grumpy.
I like Baker Mayfield. I don't think he's great, but I mean, we're diverging. But you
use the term Jag. That is the perfect definition for Baker Mayfield. I'm sorry. We'll get back to Islanders. I just wanted to mention that we do have the other podcast where Grumpy Old Man and I just more riff about sports in general. Hot takes aplenty.
And TJ actually nuts up a little bit on that podcast when he has a valid point. Usually he's not. He's a little timid here, but he thinks at least he thought he was tough last week.
Oh goodness, Grumpy. Brian P says the toupee. Oh my goodness! And then
it's a terrible toupee that Chico has. It's the same one he's had for 25 years, I think.
And Brian J says, "Just got to shave your head and let it go, my man." Oh. Yeah. Well, Jerry Springer chimes in saying Grump and TJ need to start wearing toupees as well.
Not happening. No. Hey, whatever I got, I got.
Oh, goodness gracious.
TJ's probably going to buzz it. Well, that's probably it. That's all it would take.
I was going to say, you're giving it way too many swipes, Grump. It's only going to take about wait. It'll be pretty quick if I go to buzzed. Mark A says, play Bellows.
Not going to happen.
No.
We'll talk about him in the offseason, though.
That's going to be a guy that's exposed.
He shouldn't be. He shouldn't be.
I'm going to tell you one thing. There's no way in hell you wouldn't expose him. I mean, he hadn't played any role here in any capacity for the Islanders. They would rather play Leo Komarov on a game-in, game-out basis than Kiefer Bellows at this point, even though Bellows has more potential upside to improve as a player. I just think there's no future for Bellows here at all.
What the Islanders should use the expansion draft for is shedding salary. Nothing else. There's no one on this team but Matt Barzal and maybe Anthony Beauvillier who we have to protect. We're going to protect. I'm talking about wingers. Pellick and Pulak, they're going to stay. But for the most part, everybody else, they're just Jags. So you should expose all the money that you can. Don't give them an option of picking somebody who makes a little amount of money. Make them pick somebody who makes a lot. It doesn't matter who you take off the team.
We got
TJ must have saw something.
I see a comment that's coming up next. Brian J says we need more Leos on the Islanders. Obviously, that was a joke, but we've got a comment here from Jerry Springer, and I read it beforehand, and I'm just that's why I've got this ear to ear smile, grumpy old man.
I see it.
He says, serious question for TJ. Does your fiance ever get jealous that you spend so much damn time watching hockey and doing podcasts with some senile, old, weird, cranky, grumpy dude? Is she ever like, TJ, come spend time with me tonight? And you're like, no, I have to entertain degenerate Islander fans with some cantankerous old dude. No, thank goodness there. Paige is very understanding. It gives her a chance there for me to be out of her head into study, or out of her hair into study. So it works well into the schedule.
Right. Now, Paige is studying to be a doctor, correct?
Yes, she is, Grumpy.
So I can say definitely, because I know Paige, that it's a good thing when TJ's not bothering her.
Oh, grumpy old man. Moving right along there. Tom White says Wally on his opposite side sets him up there for one-timers.
Yeah. I'd love to. I mean, why not slap him on the left wing with Barzal? Why not? You got to score more. I mean, that's going to be an issue with scoring.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, boy, we've said that before, right?
Well, that's always the biggest issue the Islanders have, because it's not like, hey, defense is the issue we have or anything like that. It's always, can we put the puck in the net enough? Hey, I thought you were doing that right there. Can we score?
I just like people to be able to. I know it's too low. I can't.
Grump, you can always readjust your camera a little bit there,
But then it takes me a long time to get it back. Hey, it's going to be what it's going to be. I just want people to know.
That is the biggest Google comment I think you've ever made here on this podcast. Not the fact that you couldn't look up and do information on the research, but you can't adjust the camera and get it back into place. Anyway, Grumpy Old Man. Michael O'Donnell there says, watch you guys on YouTube tonight. Enjoy as always. Thank you there, Michael. We do appreciate it. But Grumpy, we've got comments talking about players who got injured and never came back the right way and never were able to be healthy. Andrew Luck. Brandon,
he was a Hall of Famer, right, TJ? You look at his first 5-6 years in the league, he was a Hall of Famer. Greg Ogden, oh yeah, man, he was everyone said he was going to be a Hall of Famer. Was in college, he was going to be a Hall. Derek Rose, same thing. It happens all the time, TJ, all the time.
You're thinking over the last decade, there's been about one every single sport of a guy who gets an unbelievable career-ending injury. I'm just saying the likelihood of that are about the same likelihood you have of getting struck by lightning.
Jay Williams, right? Went to Duke University, fantastic player, gets in a motorcycle accident. Connor McDowell could get Connor, whatever the hell his name is, McDavid.
David.
Right, not the aforementioned one of the three amigos.
Aforementioned.
Right. We don't want to talk about him later. We're going to bring him up later, I'm certain, since the Bridgeport season is over. But he could get in a motorcycle accident and he could never skate the same again. So, I mean, it can happen. Like I said, you just want to anoint everybody a Hall of Famer after a couple of years. It's a millennial thing. It's the immediacy of the moment. Recency bias.
Oh, Grumpy, you messed up about a million words there. I'm going to let you get a chance there to catch a breather. Brian J says the Islanders are in trouble in 2 years from now. No prospect. Everyone will be old. Brian P, though, says, don't forget Simon Holmstrom.
He sucks. I mean, he was abysmal. You want to know how they describe his season? How do you figure they describe his? If you want to say something positive about Simon Holmstrom, he of the -17, who had, I think he had like 9 or 10 points the whole year. What do you think the positive they'd spin on him? Because they can't spin anything about him being a good player since he's not. It's the fact that he's only 20 years old. That's it. That's your spin. I'm only 60. Roll me out there.
Jesus, Crump. I can only imagine if he rolls you out there on the ice. Holy crap. Yeah, and I'll tell you there, Bridgeport, I know you wanted to touch on this a little bit, Grump. I'll let you go ahead and touch on this a little bit about what you thought of the season there for Bridgeport, Grumpy. I know you had a chance to read up on I'm talking about player performance-wise. I know that I think it was Arthur Staple released there an article in The Athletic. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do believe so. They were terrible this year, though. But they did go on a winning streak at the end, like the Islanders used to do. We'd have the first position in the draft locked up. Then, let's see, in the last 10 games, we'd go 9-1 and wind up losing out and drafting some guy like Scott Sissons or Dean Shanowski or Josh Bailey or Simon Holmstrom, guys of that ilk, as opposed to high-end talents.
Oh, good.
But Bolduc looked really good this year. Bodie Wild took a big step forward. That's why you kind of want to transition away from Nick Leddy. Guys who make some money on the defensive end, you're not going to see any of those guys. But you can deal guys to get somebody up front. That's why, in my opinion, it's important to expose guys who make money so you can make the team better by losing somebody with a high salary.
Tom White there says one thing that number 12, Josh Bailey, does on his off wing is his body positioning. When he has the puck coming into the zone, it's really evident on the power play when he can open up and force defensemen to back off, because he's used the body and the stick to create time and space and has passing options, or just like defensemen there, have to defend the pass.
Well, the reason why they have to defend the pass to him is because he won't shoot the puck. But Tom is right. His body, Josh Bailey does some things with his body that are really good. Oh, man, that sounds bad. Okay. Hockey positionally wise, He does have good body positioning. I will say
Just
that.
make sure you go ahead and cut that and click.
I had to straighten that out. Just because I'm wearing the shirt doesn't mean anything more than me just wearing the shirt, just to let you know. Okay. But there was they were on the power play Thursday night where he had the puck, everybody back, and he had a wide open net to shoot at, and he passes. I'm just like, dude, that whole net was open and he wouldn't pass. It's frustrating. And I screamed at the television as usual, and I got yelled at by the warden for making so much noise when she's trying to sleep. I mean, it's an ugly scene over here, TJ.
Oh, goodness gracious. You're
And
waiting.
it's all, I blame any marital strife on Josh Bailey.
Oh, good. Well, here's my question. What time is the warden trying to go to sleep that if during Islander? I mean, Islander game, well, I'm in the central time zone. So Islander games usually wrap up for me around like 8:30ish. So around like 9:30.
She gets up early, like 5:30 in the morning, so she's in bed by like 9. That's way too early for me. I need my beauty rest.
No, it's not working, Grump, and it doesn't work for me either. So we can get as much rest as we need, or maybe we need a little more beauty rest there. Rusty Spooner with a YouTube comment says 70 points and in fourth. No other division is harder than the East, and that's a fact. The Avalanche, the Golden Showers, the Wild, and the Blues are in for a rude awakening. I will tell you, the East, as we've mentioned, is the toughest division in all of hockey. There's no doubt about that right now.
One thing I'm going to say is, we don't really know how good the teams in other divisions are because no one has played anyone but the teams in their division. So it could be that our division is the best in hockey or the worst in hockey. There's no way in knowing until we get to the semifinals and the finals. All those other teams could be fantastic, and we don't know it because we haven't played them all year. That's my point.
I can tell based off of what I see on the ice. I mean, like everybody's playing there on the same exact ice surface, and they're all playing NHL caliber teams.
Well, yeah, but they're all playing the same teams they're all playing the same teams, night after night. So you don't know how good Las Vegas is. You have no idea because we haven't played them. We don't know how we match up with them. We don't know. Maybe Tampa Bay sucks this year. We don't know how we match up with them. We don't know. Maybe Toronto's the greatest thing ever. We don't know how we match up with them because we haven't had a chance to play them.
That's one of the worst things I think you've ever said on this podcast. Get out of here, bro.
It's the truth. And here's the thing. Toronto clinched their first division title in 21 years tonight. 21 years.
I wonder if they're going to get a playoff series victory this season.
I think they roll. I think they roll to the semifinals. I would. Now, here's the thing. If we're lucky to get through, I'd love to play Toronto because I feel we beat them.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about a bloodbath there. You want to talk about fans, depending on how many they're going to allow in the arena, absolutely going nuts and crazy if we were to play Toronto. Holy crap. That's exactly, I think, what everybody would love to see there. Islander fans and Toronto fans would love it. Islander fans even more so. Yeah, again, the Leafs are either going to be playing there. It looks like the Leafs are going to be playing either the Canadiens or the Jets, or probably more the Canadiens, the Montreal Canadiens. So
they're going to win that division. But my hope, people say, grumpy old man, you used to have the Islanders losing in the first round. Now you're saying if we play them in Toronto in the semifinals that we're going to make it to the Cup Finals. Well, yeah, because that means that we're playing really well and playing Islander Barry Trotz hockey. And I just think that style of hockey beats Toronto 9 times out of 10.
You just don't think we're playing Barry Trotz style hockey right now. Is that correct?
We're not. We're not. We're not either. We're too old to play that style of hockey. We're not good enough to play that style of hockey, but we're not. When you're competing every night and struggling against teams like Buffalo and Jersey, you're not playing good hockey. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll chime in here. You spoke about who might be the next coach there for the Rangers. Frank K there saying Tortorella there or Tocchet as the next Rangers head coach there. Tom White also says there Tortorella makes everybody accountable. And then also D-Cut there saying Tortorella is perfect for the Rangers. Agree, grumpy old man.
Yeah, the whole thing is, would they bring him back? I mean, that's the whole thing. Tocchet is another example of the similar type coach who I feel would do well there instead. They need somebody. They don't need a college rah-rah guy. They need a hard-nosed coach. That's the next guy who needs to step in there.
And then Michael M. They're saying, hello, fellas. Great win there tonight. For certain it was. And I'll tell you.
Hold on. Where's Michael's girlfriend?
His wife? You mean?
Yeah, where's she? I'd much rather see her picture than his. No offense.
Oh, goodness gracious. It's funny right after he says, TJ and Grumpy, thanks for all the hard work.
We love you, Michael. We do.
Oh, grumpy old man. Moving right along there. Okay, cut the line. I'm sorry. Here we go. Jerry Springer says, bring Phil on for a full podcast, boys. He knows what he's talking about. Yeah. I mean, like, if Phil, I wouldn't be opposed to do anything like that at all. And again, I know we got Coach Tommy B on next Wednesday's podcast, but that, those Wednesday podcasts, they won't have the phone lines open. They're going to be more designed to be, where we have guests on in some capacity. I just don't do my job enough to go ahead and get guests there on the show. So we will be working on that there. Too much pessimisticing there, chiming in saying, Viva La Dolan. Let the Rangers fall on their faces.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not rooting for the Rangers, but like I said, you got to feel for their fans. I mean, you send out the letter saying we're going to knock it down to the studs and rebuild. Seems like you're on the right path. And then that wacky Dolan comes in and just says, nope, let's blow it up. Let's see what we're going to do something different.
And he also says there, if we face the Capitals, I feel the whole country would root for us. Yeah, the hatred for Tom Wilson is at an all-time high. It's almost needs to go hide in the basement for the next 2 or 3 months, and everybody will kind of forget a little bit. But right now, everybody and their brother's mother is absolutely enraged by Tom Wilson.
Yeah. Like I said, I think, well, if it's Pittsburgh, all I can hope for is that Washington and Boston kill themselves. We get lucky, beat Pittsburgh, and then we're on our way.
Tom White there says Wilson is heads above Ross there in skating and skill. Having Ross on the bench is an option, but don't match him up with Wilson. I was about to say the only thing that Ross Johnston does there is he brings the physicality where he can kind of scare Tom Wilson a little off his game. Is the only thing I think.
He negates the intimidation factor that is Tom Wilson's game. There is none from Tom Wilson when Ross Johnston's on the ice with him. No, I mean, that's been shown time after time. Wilson never mixes it up with Ross Johnston. He's afraid of him. He'll go after Matt Martin. He's not afraid to mix it up with him. But Ross Johnston, absolutely not.
Hold on.
And that when you have Tom Wilson not being intimidating, he's just a jag.
You're telling me that Matt Martin, the $6 million man, doesn't scare Tom Wilson?
He doesn't. I mean, he probably scare him with all the chicks he's able to get because, I mean, the women just love him, and I know they don't love Tom Wilson like they do Matt Martin. So that might scare him.
Matt Martin is a ladies' man. I tell you, he retires. That is going to be a huge loss there for female Islander fans. Everybody loves the rugged look that Matt Martin has. It'll be
man, they love him. They love him.
They clamor to him like a fly on shit. That is for certain.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Rusty Spooner there chimes in saying he didn't see it. It looked unintentional regarding Abe Kubel's collision there with Tom Wilson. I thought so too. Well,
okay, just to clarify, I absolutely despise the Flyers. So even if it was unintentional, it's still intentional because it's still.
You talk about the glasses, like some Islander fans wear the orange and blue glasses. You wear like these red anger rage glasses whenever you see the Philadelphia Flyers on the TV screen.
What's the anti-orange color? Whatever that is, that's what I want because I hate the Flyers. I do. I hate them.
2 minutes of pessimistic King also says we would not fare well against the Capitals. They're too physical for us. They have a great line.
Yeah, that's what I worry about as well. I worry about their physicality.
D-Cut says only if Lousy Lou knew how to draft, we'd have one of the three amigos as an option for the playoffs instead of Casper in his 5 or 6 point season there in Bridgeport.
And the best thing was he scored like the majority of all those points like the first 4 games. Then he went invisible. Then he went full Josh Bailey on us for the rest of the year. I think he had a goal and assist in the last 7 games when the Bridgeport went 5-1-1. I think he had a point and an assist.
I thought he went ahead and rattled off some points there at the end. He finished the season there, 24 games played, 4 goals, 3 assists. Again, nothing to write home about there with Holmstrom. And you look at the production wise there of the other, the 3 amigos that we go ahead and bring up there on a consistent basis there. Philip Tomasino, grumpy old man, 24 games played, 12 goals, 14 assists there, 26 points total. Pretty damn good season there for him. You talk about Connor McMichael, 30 games played, 12 goals, 9 assists. So he winds up playing 30 games, puts up 21 points there. And then Arthur Kaliev, pulled the wrong guy there. Arthur Kaliev wound up putting up good points, though, as well there. 37 games played, 12 goals, 15 assists, 27 points in 37 games.
And our guy's in single digits. Okay, that was a great draft pick. Yep. I'll bet you know what they say. He's really smart. He's really smart. And he's young.
I told you. I always liked Rafael Lavoie as well. I know you were not as big on him. You thought he could disappear in the big games in a moment. I just thought for a big guy who can skate, he had an unbelievable year there in the Swedish Elite League this last year. Again, the plus minus wasn't also there, but he played well. Think about this, right? He plays in 10 less games or 9 less games than Simon Holmstrom, still able to put up 4 goals, 3 assists. Again, I know AHL teams all have different strengths and suitability, but still, I wouldn't have even been upset even if we looked at a guy like Rafael Lavoie as well.
The problem I had with him was not that he was the fact that he was older. He was an overage guy. That was the issue I had with him. And I just, the one guy I didn't want though was Casper. I mean, the 3 guys I wanted are the 3 guys who are producing. We needed offense. I'm like, it's perfect. And I remember that draft night, man, it's falling to us. Just the way the grumpy old man has predicted, we're going to have an option at Philip Tomasino. He's the guy I really wanted, right? And Matt Barzal, he's like Matt Barzal. Of course, little did I know at this time that the Islanders hate Matt Barzal. Okay, so it's like, why would they draft him? I would have crossed him right off my. You know how some teams they just cross guys off the draft board for physical. Okay, he doesn't pass the physical. They're off our draft board. Probably Tomasino was off the draft board. Kaliev was probably off the draft board because all he does is score. We don't want somebody like that. And McMichael was, but they're like, you know what? This Simon, this Casper fella, you know what? He looks like Josh Bailey. He hangs around the boards. Is real smart, can make a couple of good passes, and he's just not real good. He's our guy.
Oh,
That's the way I think it went in the draft room that night.
You said the one guy you didn't want the Islanders to get was Simon Holmstrom. So now when you were looking at the draft that year, did you have a notebook and saying players I don't want? The only player's name you had there was Simon Holmstrom. You know what? I'll be honest. When they drafted him, I said, who the hell is this? Again, because he was drafted way earlier than he was projected to be picked. He was supposed to be a guy who was picked there in the 2nd, 3rd round there on day 2. Islanders went ahead and drafted him in the 1st round, just kind of left scratching your head a little bit. Again, we always thought that was a reach, but neither here nor there, Grump. I don't want that to derail our momentum, Grumpy. I don't want it to derail our momentum. Brian P. says, that a boy, TJ, come to the dark side. And then Brian P. also says, don't forget Jack Adams. He's going to be renamed for Brett Thompson. Oh, goodness gracious here. And he also says, totally agree, Grump. Colburn is brutal. Nick D there says, thanks for the compliment, Grump. TJ, I disagree with you. We should rest the players because we're going to finish in 4th anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. Deacon also says, TJ with the cool patriotic Islanders t-shirt. That's for certain. The little red, white, and blue Islanders. Can't go wrong there with that.
That's a nice t-shirt. I like it.
Well, I do appreciate it there, Grumpy. Nick D also says, Grumpy old man, you're wrong on this one. Average was imitating the Peaky Blinders. I told you Peaky Blinders is popular, Grumpy. You talk about references. Peaky Blinders.
You know what? That makes him even a bigger loser than I ever thought he was before. Go with Grover Dill, Average. If you want to be liked by people, go with the Grover Dill reference, not some clown on Peaky Blinders.
Oh, Tommy.
Christmas Story, man. Go with that.
I can't remember. I think Tommy Robinson. I can't remember the guy's character's name. I haven't watched Peaky Blinders in a while. Brian P. there says, Christmas Story for perfect for Grumpy. Maybe is we could get Ralphie to ask Santa for a first line left winger, Grump.
Ho, ho, ho. Hey, Santa. Oh, you remember when he scrambles back up? He's like, a puck? Yeah. Oh, no. He says, hold on. No, I want Taylor Hall. a left winger who's shooting the score. He's like, he'll shoot your eye out, kid. Ho, ho, ho. And then kicks him back down the slide. It was perfect. It's the best part of the whole movie.
You'll score way too many goals and give up way too many chances on the defensive side of the puck. There's no way we can get you a real first-line left winger.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. And just the foot, how just like, boop, down he goes. Woo! Randy lay there like a slug. It was his only defense.
I can tell you've watched that movie a time or two before.
I've seen it 100 times.
Brett, Let's Go Islanders there says, if we play like we did tonight, we can beat Boston, Pittsburgh, and Washington.
All I'll say is that Boston, Pittsburgh, and Washington don't play like the Devils. You have to have a dance partner with you there, too.
Grumpy old man. That's for certain. Nick D there says,
I just want to say one quick thing. You know, remember the Hauser character? The guy who was going to the Hall of Fame after 2 games with the Islanders?
No. Yeah, Dominic Hasek. I remember you talking about.
Yeah, you remember him.
Dominic Hasek. I remember him.
He gave up 8 goals to Pittsburgh, including 4 to the aforementioned Jeff Carter. So, you know, Jeff Carter had more goals in 2 minutes than Zajac and Palmieri have had the whole time they were with the Islanders.
Well, he came out and he played a much better game today. I mean, this was Buffalo's last game of the season. Was tonight, I believe it was today, maybe during the daytime against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Hauser, you know, he had a little bit of a bounce back game there. 23 shots he faced, only let 1 in. They lost there to the Penguins 1-0. But it's funny, those replacement goalies, those ECHL goalies, always seem to give the Islanders a tough time.
Yeah, they always do. There's no reason for it, really. No explanation.
Nick D says, "Hey TJ, can I call you guys through WhatsApp? Calling you from Vancouver would be long distance. I don't have a WhatsApp. I'll have to go ahead and get one to look into it so we can allow people to call in. Right now, I just use Google Voice, but let me look into that here in the future so we can get that so people from out of the United States, out of the States can call in as well, making sure that we could go ahead and get that started."
I told you Nick was smart. You know how I knew he was smart? He didn't even bother addressing that question to me. He's smart.
Oh, goodness. Oh, Eve Legan there says,
Damn.
I'm sorry, Eve. I try, Eve. I really do. Eve there says, who would make a great general manager after Lou retires?
I think it's too early to tell, honestly. I just don't want to see it be Chris Lamoriello. That's the only thing I don't want to see. I don't want to see some nepotism in play where he elevates his son to that role because he's done such a great job with Bridgeport.
If the Islanders were to make Chris Lamoriello the new general manager after Lou retires, that tells you everything that we've done to add more of a legitimacy to the Islanders was all a joke. Because there's no way in hell that Chris Lamoriello should ever be considered for an NHL general manager position. I'm sorry.
No, agreed. I mean, like I said, Bridgeport's the worst team in the league. Is that what you want for your GM? We've been there before. Mike Milbury, Garth Snow. We've been there. We don't want more of that.
Too much pessimistic also says, our goalies benefit from the system. They don't make the same high danger saves as other goalies. For certain, they do. I mean, I'll tell you, they definitely do benefit there from the system. But I had no idea the Varlamov's numbers were as good as they were at the end of the season.
Yeah, but he's right. They do benefit from the system, and I think that's why we suffer in end-of-the-year awards. And here's the thing. People don't respect the Islanders. I'm sorry they don't. They just figure that we're just an average system team, and maybe we are. But I think that we don't get our due, without a doubt. Even around the NHL, we don't.
I've looked at it. I think I know how to pronounce this guy's name, the goaltender from Carolina, Alex Nedeljkovic.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Just go on to the next thing.
I'm saying I looked at it. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, Alexander says, TJ Grump, who do you think we should target this offseason?
I have not looked into first things first. Expansion draft, we have to lose salary. That's the most important thing because without losing salary, you're limited with what you can do in the offseason. Lou has shown that he's not capable of making a trade without giving away a young player for nothing. Other than that, he hasn't made a great deal. I mean, look at you want to give away first-round draft picks like they're freaking candy to continue to get a bunch of old guys on this roster. We need to free up some cap space. That's number one. Number one, before we talk about anything else.
Yeah. And again, I think when you talk about, hey, what type of targets would be, it also depends on what approach they're going to take there in the expansion draft. Who they're looking to go ahead and shed, if they're looking to take that approach, if they're looking just to expose a guy like Kiefer Bellows, maybe that's enticing enough. It really depends on what happens with that before really we can make any type of assessment. D-Cut there says Palmieri would look like a wolf by game one.
Yeah, he'd grow the hell out of a beard. Without a doubt.
Oh, for certain. Alexander also says, hey, TJ and Grump, the Dolphins are going to be lights out this year. We hit on those draft picks. Yikes. I don't think I thought the Dolphins.
I didn't dislike the Dolphins draft. I think it could have been better. I still think I think the jury's out on the quarterback. I mean, I don't think he's that great.
To a Tagovailoa, but again, like the Waddle pick, I thought was a reach there at wide receiver. We talk about that on TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That's for certain. We'll talk about anything like that on TJ.
Alexander, I want you to listen to the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. And even though I will talk about the Dolphins if you want to, without doubt.
I see there says y'all still streaming. That's crazy. Let's go Islanders. Yeah, for certain. Our streams are usually about 2 some odd hours there. I know we're getting towards the end. And Brian P says, what day is your guys' other podcast? It is on Thursdays. If the Islanders play, we do it after Islanders game. If the Islanders don't have a game on Thursday, we'll probably shoot for more like 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the same way we do Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the Islanders podcast here.
Yes.
Absolutely. Alexander also says, just remember, we can't always count on good old Josh Bailey and Leo Komarov to put that puck in the net.
At least he didn't say yes, yes, yes. I like the post, though.
Oh, good.
I almost thought Komarov was going to score. They gave Komarov the number 2 start today, if you can believe that. It's all part of the Leo is your first line left wing. We're right back to that again.
Leo Komarov got the number 2 star tonight.
Barzell was number 3, even though he was infinitely better.
What?
And Nelson for the 2 goals. Those are your 3 stars. I would have honestly, I could have seen Palmieri get a star over Komarov. I thought Palmieri played really well today. Maybe it's because he played the old Jersey guys, and after the last game, he got ripped by Barry, who thought, when he and Zajac played with Barzell, that line we're not going to see that line again. Nice way to give it a shot there, Barry.
Yeah, absolutely grumpy old man.
And I don't know what TJ's doing. It looks like he's trying. I don't know what the hell he's doing over there.
Well, Grumpy, anytime. Remember, I try to make sure there that we can go ahead and get a smooth and seamless transition here. And we've got a special guest, Grumpy Old Man. Hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Is this Lou from the landline?
This is Lou from Landline.
How are you doing, Lou? How are you doing here today? I mean, the Islanders get a very, very convincing win against the Devils. How are you feeling, Lou? How are you feeling going into the playoffs?
We're feeling very confident going to the playoffs. I'm confident this group of gentlemen in the room can make a run for the playoffs. I'm confident.
I have a quick question for you, Lou. When Barry said it's really not important that we win games down the stretch, how did that make you feel as someone who's always valued winning very much?
There's all sorts of winning, Grump, both on the ice and off the ice. Sometimes you have to rest players, as Barry has mentioned. So it's important that we rest those players.
Now,
I've got another question for you, Lou. The season there in Bridgeport has wrapped up. What do you think about your son, Chris Lamoriello's performance down there in Bridgeport? I know they didn't perform with a great win-loss record this season, but what did you think about Chris Lamoriello's performance this year?
Like I said, I don't address personal questions. Next question, please.
Okay, I have another one for you. Barry, your boy Barry, was talking about resting You know, all the players, you want to get everybody rested because it's more important. Rest was more important than winning. That's that part of that off the ice winning thing that you're talking about. Why didn't he rest any of the defensemen who have such a heavy workload all season long?
Well, they are well rested. Barry did rest them off the ice too. So we look at things on the ice and off the ice. So they are rested off the ice, and they play them on the ice as well.
That is the first time that I got Lou to not actually give an answer to a question. First time.
Oh, there we go. I've got one last question for you, Lou Lamoriello. I know your time is definitely very valuable. We don't want to keep you too long. I've got one question for you. What do you think there about Varlamov's performance here this season? Are you upset that people get marred with good goalie performance because of the system, but he puts up gaudy numbers? Do you feel that Varlamov carries a chip on his shoulder?
Just like Josh Bailey, he's elite. Oh. That's the final word on Semyon Varlamov.
There we go. Thank you, Lou, from the Landline Group. Is there anything else you want to say there to Lou before?
No, that last answer was absolutely priceless. And once again, Lou from the Landline is 2 minutes pessimistic. I'm sorry. And 2 minutes pessimisticing's wife is really nice because she likes the grumpy old man.
Well, thank you there, Lou, from the Landline, for calling in. We appreciate you giving us the insight of what's going on the back office there side of the Islanders and the Islanders organization. Thank you so much there, Lou.
Have a good evening, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, I feel always lucky when we go ahead and get a call in from Lou Lamoriello because, hey, man, he's a busy guy.
And he doesn't really talk to the press much. Usually he dictates to the rest of the media. But not us. He lets us ask questions, hard-hitting questions.
He comes on to the show and says, TJ Grumpy Old Man, I want to field the question. These are what the real Islander fans need to know. You guys don't go ahead. You cut the bullshit. You ask the straight-up questions. So we're glad we get Lou Lamoriello there from the Landline to go ahead and call him. We always like that. Alexander also saying, watch Simon Holmstrom be the next Wayne Gretzky. And Frank K says, more like the Brent Gretzky.
He beat me to it because that's what I was going to say. Absolutely.
It's the funny thing is, Brian P said you also beat me to it about Frank K.
You were too quick on that comment because I was going to say that right there.
The comment was up there for a while. And Alexander also said, I can imagine Grumpy screaming at the TV when Josh Bailey has the puck in the open lane.
It's the same every time. It's like, effing Bailey, shoot the damn. And I'm like, God damn, Jeff Fraggles, Slaggles, Mickle Smack. Again, Bailey. He honestly drives me freaking crazy. If I can see a wide open net, why can't he? He's a lot closer than I am. I'm hundreds of miles away. He's 10 foot away, and he can't see it, and I can.
I think I have a suggestion for us, Grumpy. And people have asked us before, will we do a live game broadcast? I think there's no better time to do this than the playoffs, Grump. The playoffs.
The playoffs? That's from old Jim Mara right there. Playoffs? Playoffs?
Oh, trust me. I know, Grumpy. I think we should do that during the playoffs. I really do. I think that will give. I kind of make it. I'm kind of fearful as to what you might say. I don't have like a beat button or anything like that where I can make sure I blur out anything that you say that is a little off the cuff, Grumpy Old Man. But I'm down. I'm down to go ahead and have something like that during a game of the playoffs, Grumpy.
Yeah, but you have to listen to the feed also because a lot of times
it'll get taken down. The stream will get taken down there for copyright. So you can't do it listening with the feed. That's not allowed. So I know you want that. You can't do that though, because they'll take down the feed and he'll take down the post. So you don't want to do that, Grumpy.
Well, why not? Because here's the thing. If I'm ripping Butch for saying something stupid, how are you going to know what he said? Because I talk back to Butch when he says something imbecile. I'm like, Butch, stupid, man. How do you say that? Stop being a bootlicking weasel. But if people don't know what he's saying, how are they going to know?
Oh, goodness.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not technologically savvy when it comes to stuff like that, but I think the NHL would probably want me talking over their broadcasters, honestly.
Oh, goodness gracious, Grumpy Old Man.
It'd be like Mystery Theater 3000.
That's kind of what it would be like there, Grumpy Old Man. I'm kind of interested to see what you would be like live during a game.
I'm gonna tell you what. If things are going good, I'm real docile and I'm happy. Okay, and sometimes I get a clap going when things are going good. When things are going bad, they go up the rails mighty quick.
Well, you want to know this? Connor McDavid up to 99 points. Wow, he actually just had another point, so he's got 100 points here on the season. Think about that. In this shortened season, Connor McDavid head over heels, top point producer in the NHL. Great for him there. It's unbelievable. My gosh, I honestly, Grumpy Old Man, I don't know what it'd be like to have you live during a game, or what I'd be like even live during a game. But no, we won't be able to have like the stream of the game running at the same time. Too much pessimistic says also agreed. Phil knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, Phil's real good at that stuff. I gotta admit. I hate to admit it, but I do.
Oh,
I don't hate to admit it. No, Phil's been really good. He's really good at that stuff. I wish I had time to break down film like that during our season, but I don't. I'm just too busy. I'm sorry.
Brian P. there says a villain is good for the sport. And Brian P. also says Washington women love Wilson.
Yeah, but you ever seen those people, those women from Washington? Oof. They're rough, man.
Oh, goodness gracious there. Phil Fax also says Mitch Marner was picked by Dubas. Lou picked Matthews, Grumpy Old Man. Austin Matthews, not Mitch Marner.
I thought they both came in 2015.
I couldn't tell you. Don't have it there. Dirk from Germany says, Guten Morgen, gents. Good morning, Dirk.
Good morning to Dirk. We haven't heard him in a while. Always a pleasure from Germany.
Absolutely there. And Nick D says, Grumpy, you're the best, brother.
Thank you, Nick.
And D-Cut says, record since the average injury, but before the Palmieri trade was 8-4. Since record since the Mill Carton trade, 7-8. My grade of a C may have been too generous, ?
F-. That's where it is. That was my initial reaction, and I'll stick by it. F-.
Oh, goodness gracious. Dirk also says, glad we won the last game in the barn there in the regular season for certain.
It's apropos. I am so glad we did. The only thing I wish there were fans in the building. I wish there was filled with fans. I think it would have been great. I think that we could have done something really, really special, bringing back a whole bunch of old players and everything to celebrate the last game in the barn. I think would have been great.
But what's going on? You really can't do that.
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying it would have been great if that wasn't the case. That's all.
Absolutely here. Moving right along, though. Nick D there says also, yep, they're chiming in with 100 points there. And so the D-Cut.
Then against the Canucks. Good. Very good. He's great. He stepped up this year, didn't he? I mean, he's always been good. That's a Hall of Famer. Guaranteed. First ballot Hall of Famer.
I'm telling you, Connor McDavid is going to be a first ballot.
I'm not saying he won't get in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying it's a little early. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Grumpy Old Man. Oh, Alexander. I don't even know. I don't think the best salesman ever could go ahead and sell Andrew Ladd there to Seattle, but he says, I think Seattle would love Andrew Ladd. I heard he's a great locker room guy.
Well, he better be good in the locker room because he ain't good on the ice anymore.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Kraken, because we have a history of taking Krakens.
Phil Fax there says Varlamov has the 5th highest high danger save percentage there amongst starters. He's been elite system or not. And again, I wonder how much of that also, I mean, like he had like 3 shutouts there, or was it 2 shutouts in a row? I can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember. Unbelievable as of late. Unbelievable over the last 5 or 6 game stretch that he's played in. That's really gone ahead and boosted those numbers in his favor, too.
Yeah, but the system, I'm not saying that he hasn't been great because he has been, but the system, every goalie who comes into this system has numbers like that. I think it's a system thing. Look at him everywhere else he's been. His numbers have been nowhere near as good. When he was with Colorado or anything like that, they weren't like that. I mean, I think he benefits from the system, and that's not to belittle what he's done as a player and how good he's played. Absolutely not. So, but I do feel the system helps. Like Leonard was great in the system, Greiss was great in the system, Sorokin's great in the system. It's a great system for goaltenders.
Well, I mean, Leonard, even though he got off to a little bit of a rough start this season, he did bounce back. Robin Leonard did. Again, I've always liked Robin Leonard. So again. I guess
Yeah, I'm just saying he hasn't put up numbers like he did when he was with the Islanders that one year.
I mean, like, we look at the numbers there, they're franchise records at the time period. So no, I don't think he's going to continue to put up like those franchise record-setting numbers. Dirk there says, could it be though that Trot's playing to play bad the last few games to fool the other teams in the playoffs? I think Dirk might be onto something here.
Dirk, I love you, but the answer's going to be no to that one.
He's being
I don't
facetious,
think so.
man.
I don't think so. I don't think
Come
so.
on, Grumpy. He's being facetious.
I know.
D-Cut there saying Lou up late tonight. Alexander saying Lou from the landline. Absolutely love it. Brian P says Bellows still has more goals, 3 in as many games that Leo Zajac Bailey in 25 games since 2 goals combined.
The issue with Kiefer Bellows is that he's too much of an offensive force. So we don't want that.
No.
We want to lull our opponents and fans to sleep. So maybe we can pop one in and win 1-0.
Oh, goodness.
I just hope we don't go overtime games. I think that'd be death for us. A bunch of overtime games, I think that would kill us.
I don't know. It really depends. Overtime, the
I'm
reason
just saying from a stamina standpoint.
was that.
From a stamina standpoint, game after game with the style we play, I think it would be really difficult.
I'm not even thinking stamina standpoint. I'm thinking when you win games in overtime, a lot of time it's based off of a fluky occurrence. In order to win a fluky game, you got to throw the puck towards the net. It's something the Islanders don't do that much of. So you throw the puck more towards the net. I think that does go ahead and benefit you there in overtime. There's so many occurrences like that where a guy just takes a slap shot. I remember Kevin Biekska's slap shot there from the point. I know they always pronounce it Biekska or Bietsk. I can't even remember how to pronounce his name. I remember, though, Don Cherry Biekska, how he pronounced his name.
Biekska. It's Bieksa is his name.
Don Cherry always pronounced it
He used to call it like Fresca. Biekska. That's how we used to call him. Like
he called him Biekska. That's what I said.
You know what Fresca is, TJ, or was?
Yeah, it's soda pop.
Do you know what flavor it was?
It's like Sprite.
Yes, like Sprite or 7-Up, correct.
What the hell is it smiled about? I know what it tastes like. I used to have Fresca.
Fresca's been out of business for a while, I believe.
Oh, goodness gracious, Grumpy Old Man. Brian P. said the best coach interview is when they asked Bobby Knight about his team's game face.
Yeah, that was a great interview with Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight was great. He was great.
He was definitely one charismatic son.
Man, he sure was. And he was a great coach, too.
I'm just saying, Nick D saying
okay,
there.
I'm going to say something about Bobby Knight. Hard ass, right? But all the guys who played, well, okay, not all, but the vast majority, credit for him for helping them to grow up to be better people. And they all graduated, which, as a college coach, that's what you're there to do.
Yeah, help them develop the tools there and the skills, but also helping mold them as individuals for sure. Yep. Nick D also says, I think you guys should do a live broadcast during a playoff games. Unfortunately, we'll have to listen to the Canadian broadcasters.
I like the Canadian broadcasters. I really do. I like them. I like Jim Hughes, and I like them. I don't dislike the Canadian broadcasters at all.
Brian P. said, no, Lou did nothing there in Toronto. Marner already there, and Shanahan would have let Lou pick if it would have let Lou pick the way he wanted, he would have selected a defensive defenseman instead of Matthews.
No, I'm going to disagree. That's an off-season topic, but all I got to say is Lou came in there and they were like 69 points his first year there, and then they were 100 the next 2 years. The whole thing is they weren't good enough defensively, and maybe they didn't like the fact that he wanted to be more defensive. I don't know, but Toronto still needs defensemen. So.
Alexander chimes in. TJ Grumpy, can you put together your Mount Rushmore of Islander greats? I'll tell you this much. It's probably an off-season type of topic here. We're about at 2 hours and 20 minutes in. And I'll
just throw them out there real quick, and then we'll
provide more context in the off-season.
Yeah. Bossy, Trottier, Potvin, and I like Gillies only because I was a Chico Rush guy over Billy Smith, but you could go – and maybe if they had a little bit of extra rock, you could throw Billy Smith in there too.
Adding a little extra rock there to Mount Rushmore.
Or maybe Al Arbor, throw him in too.
It's not bad.
Hey, we got plenty of rock.
Nick D also says, Grump, you're up late. Isn't it past midnight where you are? I was about to say, Grumpy's he's about to go to bed.
It is, but I have tremendous stamina. Thank you.
Oh, goodness gracious. D-Cut also chimes in there saying Islanders should hire Ray Ferraro as the analyst next season. Throw Butch in the studio with Shannon and AJ.
And AJ's hair, I think he said. Yeah, there you go. We haven't seen AJ recently. I wonder why. But they did have a nice segment, I thought, on face-offs with Butch and AJ and Brendan dropping the puck. I thought that was entertaining, especially when AJ let himself get beat by a 70-year-old man on the face-off dot, where she had like 6 or 8 inches on him and 40 pounds, and he was still able to muscle her out for the puck. I thought that was hilarious. Even she did after a while. But I would love Ray Ferraro is really good too. I like him as a color guy also. I like Ray Ferraro. Always did. Ex-Islander, great.
And one last comment here.
No!
Josh Bailey is now tied for John Tavares with most assists on the team.
We talked about this before. We didn't bring it up. I don't want to talk about that because
I thought I brought it up before. But I know you briefly talked about it when you're going on your rants earlier, grumpy old man. But it's one last topic here.
Okay.
Number 5th, tied for number 5th all time there. And
does that mean that for all the Josh Bailey people who think he should go up in the rafters, John Tavares' number should be up there, Goring/Tavares? Do you think these should do that?
Yes, they should, because the point production we've seen from Josh Bailey there in the extra 3 seasons he's been in, I'm glad he's finally been able to match John Tavares' production. They were drafted the same year, is that correct? I'm trying to
No. Bailey was drafted like 3 years before.
No, it wasn't 3 years before him.
He was drafted a couple of years before though. They were not in the same year. Maybe 2 years before. I'm not sure. But the whole thing is, the answer to the question is neither one of them should be up in the rafters. They didn't win anything. And, Tavares was only here for whatever.
1 year beforehand. I thought it was close there, but yeah, Josh Bailey there was drafted 1 year before John Tavares.
I mean, he's been here, 3 more years than Tavares has. And, neither one of them should be up in the rafters. Neither one. I'm sorry. You got to win. You got to be winning. You got to lead the team in something. I mean, I'm sorry. No.
Tavares' jersey will go up there with a picture of a snake. Oh, yeah.
Good. You love Alexander. I know you do, TJ, because you hate that John Tavares.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're a good lover.
D-Cut there says, shout out to all the Isles Misery Rated R members for supporting this great podcast. Always thank you there, D-Cut.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you wanted to say here before we wrap things up here?
I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man, and listen to our Thursday podcast, listen to our Wednesday podcast. Hey, any night we're on, listen to us. We love you all.
Well, thank you, Grumpy Old Man. Thank you, everybody who tuned in there to the live stream and the podcast today. Again, Grumpy and I love to be able to interact with people who like listening and talking Islanders hockey and sports in general. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We hope you have a great day.
Hey, Josh Bailey.
No, sing the song. I want to
know. You will score a goal.
No. Redo that.
I don't know. I got to read it. Hey, Josh Bailey. Ooh, we want to know. Will you score a goal? No.
There is no better way to end the podcast than on that note, Grumpy. So thank you so much. I appreciate you being a part of this as always.
My pleasure.